Upon entering a cultivation novel game, I became an NPC in the starter village. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Visiting the Jin Mansion. On the stage, the little girl in yellow and the overindulgent young man were fighting fiercely. Off stage, Shensan and Yunxi were eating fruits silently while discussing about joining the sect. Let's go find my aunt. After eating all the fruits on the stage, she clapped her hands, felt her bulging belly, and said to her apprentice. However, before she finished speaking, the two of them looked at the stage at the same time. There was murderous intent. When the young man waved his fan, two very thin silver needles were sandwiched in it and flew towards the little girl in yellow. The two were very close and the fight was very intense. The color of the silver needles was very inconspicuous in the daytime. If they had not reached the master level, they might not have been able to find the two silver needles. Yunxi's face sank and his fingertips moved slightly. A transparent protective shield immediately protected the little girl in yellow. Among the audience, no one saw the silver needles, and no one saw the protective shield. But the little girl in yellow did. She clearly saw two silver needles that seemed to be nailed to some kind of transparent wall, and they were just a little bit away from piercing her eyes. Cold sweat came down. Just now, who saved her? Just now, you two saved me, right? Thank you so much. When Yunxi and Shensan were eating, they heard a familiar voice, looked up at the little girl in yellow who suddenly appeared at the table, and looked at each other silently. Please sit down. Do you know why that person used such a vicious method? Thinking of the results of her investigation, Yunxi paused. The silver needles used a very ruthless medicine. Once the medicine pierces your eyes, you will never see again in this life. The little girl in yellow took a breath, and then the anger in her eyes burned. That damn guy, it's really hateful. She turned her head to find trouble with the young man, but just as she turned around, she seemed to think of something, stopped abruptly, and looked back at them. In fact, I have heard that the people of the evil killing sect are cruel and ruthless, but I didn't take it too seriously before. Who would have thought that they would be so crazy for this secret book? The little girl in yellow was deflated, sat down with a puzzled look on her face. The evil killing sect, are you also from the sect? A light flashed in Yunxi's eyes, and soon she showed a pure smile. I heard that the people in the sect are very powerful. No, the little girl in yellow was embarrassed by the praise, scratched her head, and her cheeks flushed slightly. I heard that the sect was very powerful in the past, and the current sect is not as powerful as before, but it is really good to be able to join the sect. Among the same generation in my family, I am the only one who joined the sect. Yunxi hurriedly praised her a few more times, which made her very happy, and she couldn't help talking about the sect. My sect is not the kind of sect that is good at fighting. It specializes in researching medicine, so our fighting power is generally not high, and the location of the sect is not very good. The yellow-clothed girl scratched her head and suddenly took out a bottle of medicine from her backpack. But our sect's medicine level is really amazing. You can take a look at the medicine I made, taking the slightly worn bottle. The medicine inside was a very basic blood recovery medicine. Although it was only a primary medicine, the fragrance, shape and quality were basically done to the extreme. It can be imagined that this little girl usually has a good foundation. This time she was really impressed. According to the yellow-clothed girl, there were only a few big sects in the water continent before, but after something happened, they actually fought. At that time, the level of each sect was similar to the Misty Rain Palace. The fight was so fierce that several big sects were torn apart. At that time, the disciples of each sect left the sect and re-established new sects outside, so there are so many small sects now, and each family has received very little inheritance. But under such circumstances, the little girl can make such medicine. It seems that she really put a lot of effort into it. The two of them became happier and happier as they talked, and at the end, Yunxi and Shensan stood quietly in front of a mansion with the name Jin Mansion written on it. The little girl in yellow was knocking on the door. She crossed her arms and thought about it. How did things turn out like this? She had only chatted with this girl named Jin Baoer about some tips on making medicine, but somehow, she became more and more excited as she talked, and it turned out that she invited them to come over as guests. The door creaked open, and the doorman poked his head out. Who is it? There is. Girl. You are back. When he saw Jin Baor's smiling face, the doorman instantly became excited and made way. "Girl, come in quickly. Who are these two?" "These two are my friends," Jin Baor said with a smile. Master Lu Yunxi and his apprentice were warmly welcomed in. It can be seen that Jin Baor has a very high status in the Jin family, and everyone who passes by will greet her very enthusiastically. "Hurry up and take a seat. I've asked someone to go to the kitchen and ask them to cook. Our Jin family made their fortune by cooking. I guarantee you'll want to eat more after you've tasted it." When it comes to the dishes at home, Jin Baor is extremely confident and can't help but praise the dishes she has researched. "We used to run a store, but the dishes we made were average. The store was supported by tourists staying in the store. But after my mother personally researched and improved them, our dishes have spread all over the continent. Your mother is so amazing. She has supported so many stores by herself," Lu Yunxi praised repeatedly, praising Jin Baor's mother to the heavens and the earth, and she couldn't close her mouth. However, when the old woman who looked very kind smiled and took Lu Yunxi's hand, she suddenly felt a strange feeling in her heart. It was as if she had eaten a sour and soft candy, and her whole heart was about to melt. "Are you our Baor's friend? Thank you for taking care of our Baor." The old woman with white hair and old hands trembled as she held her hand and patted it gently. Seeing the tears flashing in the old woman's eyes, Lu Yunxi's throat seemed to be choked and she couldn't speak. Jin Baor looked younger than her. How could her mother be so old? She looked like an old woman in her 60s or 70s. Could she be an elderly mother? She had some strange thoughts in her mind, but she had a gentle smile on her face. "Madam, Baor is very good. I like her very much," Jin Baor suddenly interrupted. "Mom, you must serve the best dishes to Sister Yunxi. She saved my life. If it weren't for her, your daughter would be blind now." As soon as she finished speaking, she seemed to realize that she shouldn't say it, and she took a breath, and the old lady sitting above also changed her face. "Baor? Tell me clearly. What danger did you encounter?" The old lady was very scared, and pulled her daughter over, looking left and right, fearing that she didn't notice any injuries. Jin Baor stuck out her tongue and described the events of the martial arts competition in a light-hearted manner. The old lady was so scared that she burst into tears. She hugged her and kept shouting, "Baor, my dear Baor, don't scare me. Don't go to such a dangerous place next time." The old lady cried for a long time before she finally calmed down. "Miss Lu, I'm sorry to make you laugh." She wiped her tears and turned to look at Lu Yunxi, who was chatting with Shen San next to her, with a grateful face. "You saved my daughter. I really don't know how to thank you. It's getting late now. If you don't mind, I will cook a table of good dishes for you tomorrow." Lu Yunxi waved her hand quickly. "No, how could I mind? I've heard from Baor that your cooking skills are very good. I'm so excited to think about eating the food you cook, but how about asking the kitchen to cook directly? Wouldn't it be too hard for you to cook for us?" "Haha, it's not hard, just wait for the feast." That night, Lu Yunxi tasted the dishes made by the chef of the Jin family, which were said to be delicious. In order to entertain her, most of the dishes made by the Jin family were grown in the fields. In the water continent, things grown in the fields are much more expensive than fresh river food. Only when entertaining distinguished guests will people in the water continent buy these expensive ingredients. Lu Yunxi and Shen San looked at most of the blue and green dishes on the table and nodded secretly. Although their master and apprentice are already so good at cooking, in most places, being able to make dishes of blue quality is already quite good. Chapter 102 Mrs. Jin. The morning light was dim. A faint fragrance rose with the smoke from the cooking. Lu Yunxi woke up from her sleep and looked at the light smoke not far away, with a flash of surprise in her eyes. "You started cooking so early." The maid carefully brought a towel and basin to her, and explained with a smile, "It's the lady who is preparing a big meal to thank the two guests for saving their lives." She looked at the sun that had just risen outside, frowned, and thought to herself, "Get up so early. That lady looks old and not in good health. Will she be exhausted later?" After washing up, Lu Yunxi and his apprentice came to the hall with full of worries and chatted with Jin Baor. However, because she was always worried about the lady who looked very old, she was always a little absent-minded. But although she hinted that the lady should come over to rest, she was firmly opposed by the lady. There was no way. She could only suppress her anxiety and continue to wait. At noon, in the main hall of the Jin family, Lu Yunxi was warmly invited by the Jin family and sat in the upper seat with Shen San. "Miss Lu, Mr. Shen, "Come and try my cooking." Mrs. Jin greeted them with a warm face, pointing to the dishes on the table. "I haven't cooked for a long time, and I don't know if my cooking skills have declined." Before Lu Yunxi and the others spoke, Jin Baor immediately praised her. "Mom, your cooking is still so delicious." Mrs. Jin couldn't help but laugh. "Because I am best at river fish, I made a lot of river fish today. I don't know if you will like it." Lu Yunxi picked up a chopstick of food from the table and swallowed it before tasting it carefully. She smiled and praised, "Madam's cooking skills are really amazing. This steamed fish is so tender. This taste is." She frowned slightly without leaving a trace, picked up another big chopstick, and tasted it carefully. After tasting the dishes on the table one by one, her face became more and more surprised, but her heart went from calm at the beginning to shock and then joy. The dishes made by this lady are 90% similar to those made by her mother. Could this Mrs. Jin be related to her mother? She looked quite old. Could she be from her grandmother's family? Lu Yunxi guessed secretly. "By the way, Miss Lu, what are you doing here?" Although Huzhou is a big city, not many people come here to travel. Generally, people who come here have something to do. She lowered her eyes, thought for 3 seconds, and said with a smile, "Yes, I am actually here to find someone." "You are looking for someone?" "I have lived in Huzhou for many years, and I know most of the people here." "Who are you looking for?" "If you don't mind, you can tell me and I will ask someone to help you find someone." Mrs. Jin was stunned for a moment, and then quickly expressed her willingness to help her. Lu Yunxi's eyes lit up. The Jin family has been operating in Huzhou for many years, and can be said to be a local snake. If they help, she will be able to find people much faster. And she can also take the opportunity to test whether this Jin family is her grandmother's family. She took out a purse from her arms, actually from the space, which contained the jade pendant left to her by her mother. "This is the jade pendant my mother left for me." She carefully held up her jade pendant, but her eyes were always paying attention to Mrs. Jin's expression. "I want to find my mother's relatives. My mother asked me to see how they are doing." However, Mrs. Jin's reaction was beyond Lu Yunxi's expectations. She was always calm and did not reach out to touch the jade pendant. She just looked at it carefully for several times and nodded. "Oh. So that's the case. Then I'll ask the painter to paint this jade pendant and give it to the people below to find the person." As she said, she called the housekeeper over and told them to go and find the person quickly. Lu Yunxi, did she guess wrong? Time passed day by day. A week later, Lu Yunxi did not urge them, but Mrs. Jin could not sit still. While Lu Yunxi was out for fun, she called the housekeeper over. "Housekeeper, where's the person Miss Lu is looking for? How is the search going?" "Why is there no news at all, madam?" "There is no news about the person Miss Lu is looking for." The housekeeper secretly had a headache. "Madam, don't worry, we will find the person as soon as possible." Upon hearing this, Mrs. Jin couldn't help but frown. The housekeeper has been working at home for many years. It is impossible that he can't handle such a small matter. It seems that the person Miss Lu is looking for is indeed hiding very deeply. "Mom, look what I bought for you." At this moment, Jin Baoer ran in. Mrs. Jin waved her hand and asked the housekeeper to leave. Taking the street snacks her precious daughter brought her, she smiled and said, "Where did you go today? Do you have enough money? If not, I'll give it to you." Jin Baoer did not continue the topic at this time, but instead mentioned the housekeeper's anxiety just now. "Mom, haven't Sister Yunxi's family been found yet? Can you let me see what we have found now? I can help." Mrs. Jin pointed to the paper on the table. "There is only information about Miss Lu's jade pendant, no other information." Jin Baoer picked up the drawing paper and looked at it carefully. According to the housekeeper, Miss Lu should be a girl from an official family, and she is not a small official. The quality of the jade pendant is very good. Not everyone can afford it. Mrs. Jin introduced it seriously, but she didn't think the information was useful. "Huh?" Jin Baoer looked at the drawing in her hand and suddenly exclaimed in doubt. Mrs. Jin paused and turned to look at her precious daughter. "Baoer, did you find anything?" "Mom, this jade pendant looks like the one on you." Jin Baoer stared at the pattern of the jade pendant in disbelief. "If the pattern on this jade pendant was not in the opposite direction of the pattern on your hand, I would have thought that this was your jade pendant." The speaker is unintentional, but the listener is intentional. When Mrs. Jin heard this, her hand holding the teacup trembled. With a clang, the teacup shattered on the ground, and the tea flowed all over the floor. "Mom, what's wrong?" Jin Baoer was startled and hurriedly went up to support her. Mrs. Jin's hands trembled slightly, and she carefully took out her own jade pendant from her arms. Come on, Bayor, take a closer look. Is this jade pendant the same as the one in the picture? Jin Bayor was stunned, but still did as she was told. After comparing every line of the pattern on the picture, she nodded affirmatively. It is exactly the same, just in the opposite direction. Mother, could it be that you ordered this jade pendant from the same store as Sister Yunxi? No. Mrs. Jin was incoherent at this moment, and tears began to gather in her eyes. A quarter of an hour later. Mrs. Jin hugged Lu Yunxi tightly, tears streaming down her face. Woo, my sister. Lu Yunxi patted her back gently and comforted her in a low voice. Even she felt a little surprised. This Mrs. Jin was actually her mother's twin sister, her aunt. But because her eyesight was not very good, she didn't recognize her at the time. No wonder the Jin family couldn't find anyone after searching for so long. After all, who would find someone in their own home? However, if it weren't for the fact that Mrs. Jin looked too old, she wouldn't have ignored this guest directly. According to her current age, the aunt should be only 38 years old, not 68 years old. How could she be so old? After crying for a long time, the aunt wiped her tears embarrassedly and sniffed. Xiaoxi, how was my sister doing before? After I got married, my life was pretty good. I have been asking people to look for my sister, but there is no news. Mom is in the forest continent. She was rescued by Dad. She is living an ordinary life. Forest continent? No wonder I can't find her. Mrs. Jin's eyes revealed longing and relief. With such a great daughter like you, my sister must be living a good life. Lu Yunxi gently patted her back and watched her cry until she fell asleep. The servants of the Jin family seemed to have gotten used to Mrs. Jin's health. They sent the lady back to the room as if nothing had happened. Some asked for a doctor and some asked to boil water. Bayor, how is your aunt's health? Jin Bayor, who was still immersed in confusion, was stunned for a moment and replied subconsciously, Mom's health is not very good. I heard that she didn't have a good foundation when she was a child and suffered too much. Then how can I make my aunt's health return to normal? Chapter 103 Adam's apples very sexy. My master said that if mother wants to recover, she must find yanks and grass. Jin Bayor's eyes were blank, and she was obviously still in a trance. She only answered her subconsciously, but yanks and grass is an orange-grade medicinal material, and people outside have never even heard of it. Lu Yunxi nodded. The doctor in the clinic was hurriedly invited over, but he could do nothing except prescribe some tonic soup. Looking at the doctor's back as he hurried away, she exhaled deeply. I'm glad that aunt is okay. I'll go find some yanks and grass. Lu Yunxi turned to look at Jin Bayor, and then called Chen San to leave. Jin Bayor stared blankly at her new cousin walking away. After a while, she finally came back to her senses and shouted, Sister Yunxi, that thing is hard to find. Ever since her master examined her mother, she has been paying attention to yanks and grass every day, but she hasn't found it until now. However, she was in a daze for too long. When she shouted, the new cousin had already walked away and probably couldn't hear her shouting. Lu Yunxi on the other side certainly heard her words. After all, she had reached the master level. If she couldn't hear it, she might as well go home and grow sweet potatoes. But she had her own ideas. For NPCs, it is indeed troublesome to find a certain resource, but what about players? Players have a magical tool like forums. No matter where they are, they can communicate directly across regions. Lu Yunxi opened the forum and tentatively sent a message. Ling, you do not have the right to send messages in the forum. Looking at the bright red prompt words of the system, she took a deep breath and decided to ask her apprentice for help. Chen San, she just said she wanted to find the yanks and grass, so I'll leave it to you. Let's use the gate of the Jin mansion as the boundary. I'll look for it in the south, and you look for it in the north. How about that? Chen San paused and asked hesitantly, Master, will this be too hard? The area in the north is much smaller. How about you switch with me? Lu Yunxi shook her head. It's decided. I'm the master, and I have the final say. She deliberately let Chen San take charge of the easy area, hoping that he would have time to check his system later. There are special channels for players to exchange supplies. It is likely that it will not be found in Hexiao. This is the territory of the Jin Mansion. If the yanks and grass appeared here, the people of the Jin Mansion would have found it long ago, so why would they be so worried? An hour later, Lu Yunxi and Chen San gathered at the Fisherman's Inn. This time, there was no need to give out their previous meal coupons. and the two were directly treated as guests of honor. The Fisherman's Inn is the store opened by the Jin family. Master, I have asked, and there is indeed someone who has the Yunxi grass. If you need it urgently, you have to exchange it with gold-grade herbs. If you can wait for a month, you can exchange it with orange-grade medicinal materials or purple-grade equipment. She wiped her mouth silently. Choose the one who is faster. Didn't we dig up a lot of gold-grade medicinal herbs before? Just take one from my share and give it to him. Shen-san nodded, and quickly wrote a letter and sent it out. In the evening, the two got the Yunxi grass they wanted, boiled the herbs and gave it to Mrs. Jin to eat. When they brought a bowl of medicine, Jin Baor's eyes almost popped out. What she had been looking for so long and couldn't find, was actually found so easily by Sister Yunxi. Jin Baor's master's medical skills are very good. After Mrs. Jin drank the medicine, her health really improved a lot. Not only did she have more strength to speak, but she also didn't tremble wildly when she walked. After that day, Lu Yunxi also started to make soup for her aunt to regulate her body. After all, her medical skills have reached a master level, and the recipes she made are all dietary therapy, so the Jin family is not worried about getting sick from eating. Of course, they don't think the soup she made is useful. Jin Baor's master is a senior physician, famous throughout the water continent. Such a powerful person is helpless, let alone others. However, a few days later, the Jin family was slapped in the face. In just a few days, under the care of Lu Yunxi's various dietary therapy soups, Mrs. Jin became radiant, her hair began to darken, and the wrinkles on her face were much less. Jin Baor was shocked and stuck to Lu Yunxi like a dogskin plaster, and she became very interested in dietary therapy. Jin Baor was like a follower, even to the toilet, she had to follow, and she was finally recalled by the sect, and Lu Yunxi lived a leisurely retirement life. However, a few days later, this wonderful retirement life ended again. And, what do you want to see me for? Looking at the eager eyes in her aunt's eyes, she suddenly had a bad premonition. I always feel that this look is a little familiar. Zioxi, come and sit down. Mrs. Jin waved at her, pulled her to sit on the chair beside her, and then handed her the album in her hand. Look at this, is there anything you like? Lu Yunxi took the album inexplicably, but found that all the pictures in the album were portraits of young men. She swallowed and suddenly remembered what her aunt's expression was like just now. Isn't this the expression of relatives in the family when they urged her to get married? And, perhaps because she was too resistant, Mrs. Jin immediately took her hand and gently advised, Zioxi, I know that many girls think that getting married is a terrible thing, so you are so resistant, but you have to know that in this long life, the one who can accompany you all the way is your partner, and can't always be with you. In the future, whenever you get sick, suddenly lose your job, or run into trouble, your partner will help you and take care of you, so don't refuse, okay? We can slowly find someone, Lu Yunxi. She looked at her aunt with a headache. Ever since she knew that she lived in the game world, she always felt nervous in her heart. Only by killing monsters and upgrading like crazy could she feel safe, but she couldn't tell her aunt about this directly. Look at this one, his family is also in Huzhou. His family background is quite good, he is the youngest child in the family, he is very spoiled, he doesn't have to worry about supporting the family at all, and he looks very good. Aunt had already opened the booklet and introduced her one by one. After discussing men with her aunt for an entire afternoon, Lu Yunxi returned to her room feeling dizzy. Shen-san was already sitting there waiting for her. Master, where did you go today? Yes, his Adam's apple is very sexy. Lu Yunxi almost subconsciously praised him. When she saw the shocked look in her apprentice's eyes, she suddenly reacted. Damn! What did she just say to her apprentice? In an instant, her cheeks were stained with red, and the heat went all the way to her ears. She had been praising people with her aunt the whole afternoon, and later on, she almost subconsciously praised them when she heard someone talking. Because she didn't know what to praise, she had to follow the order, praising the eyes this time, the nose that time. Last time she was praising the mouth, and this time she was also praising it. Master, what did you just say? Shen-san forced out this sentence. He didn't know how to describe his mood. Master must have been joking just now. What Adam's apple is very sexy. What the hell is this? Did someone seduce the master while he was away? Lu Yunxi blushed in embarrassment. After trying to calm down, she explained the matter of her aunt finding a partner for her. So that's how it is. After listening to it, Shen-san suddenly lowered his head. His expression could not be seen clearly, but his tone became low. That's good. She was a little confused. Although his tone said that it was good, it didn't sound very good. Shen San lowered his head, and his heart seemed to be holding back a breath, and he was very upset. He didn't know what was wrong with him, why he was so unhappy. Obviously the master just wanted to go on a blind date. He should be happy for the master. Obviously the master is so beautiful and so powerful. She will definitely find a particularly good man. However, the more he wanted to be happy for her, the more depressed he felt. He sat quietly for a while, unable to say a word. When he turned around and saw the clothes on the master, he was suddenly stunned. That's right. The clothes of the master were made by him. The master was like his daughter, and he raised her from a little kid. Although it was only for 1 year. How could he be happy that his daughter was going to get married? Chapter 104 Paper Man. Shen San opened the forum and couldn't help but post a thread to complain about his dissatisfaction as an old father. My master is getting married, I'm so upset. The cabbages at home are being eaten by pigs. In the specific content of the post, he described in detail what happened today. There are many people on the Star Network, and someone noticed this post at once. Because there are many people who become apprentices in ancient times, but this is the first time I've heard of a master getting married. People who saw the post rushed to watch the fun. Spectators, up, your master is getting married, not your child, so why do you have the mentality of an old father? Maybe your master is older than you. The most handsome man in the galaxy, is your master a great beauty? That's why you are so reluctant. The most popular handsome man, so my master can get married? I wonder if I can marry my master? When Shen San saw this sentence, his body froze. Marry a master. This guy is really good at talking. Why does he marry his own master? Master, but. In short, master will never marry these players who only know how to laugh and joke. Just when he was upset, a reply with the highest number of likes was swiped to the top. He calmed down and went to the forum again, and happened to see the highly praised answer. Psychologist, up, in fact, you don't have the mentality of an old father at all. From what you said in the post, I think you are in love with your master, and you are jealous when you see that your master is going on a blind date, right? Many people made a fuss under this answer. Shen San gritted his teeth. What a psychologist. They know nothing. He closed the forum angrily and sneered at the replies on the forum. What a joke. He would fall in love with a paper man. At the same time, Yunxi was also thinking. Auntie is really crazy. In just half a day, she saw nearly 30 people's albums at her aunt's place. At this rate, she will look for a partner every day in the future and won't have to do anything else. And the apprentice seems to be in a bad mood recently. Is it because I ignored him? Should I go out with him to play? After thinking for a long time, she still had no idea. Yunxi simply opened the forum to find some inspiration. However, the first post was posted by a name she was very familiar with, Chen San. Her originally lazy expression changed instantly and became very interested. It turned out that her always serious apprentice would actually post on the forum. She thought he would never enter the forum, a gathering place for gossip. Yunxi opened the post and took a look. The next second, the smile on her face froze. What the hell? What kind of things did the apprentice post on the forum? So he was in a bad mood because he treated her as a daughter? So he couldn't bear to marry her off. He actually wanted to be her father. Don't even think about it. Yunxi suddenly woke up, and when she thought of her apprentice who was committing treason, a ferocious smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Chen San found that his master had suddenly changed. Originally, when the master talked to him, he always spoke softly. Even when he started to learn how to cook, he blew up the pot, left some things that should be thrown away and threw away some things that shouldn't be thrown away, and even burned the kitchen. The master never blamed him. But now, Chen San, go and pour me some water to soak my feet. Remember to add some mugwort. I've been too humid recently. Chen San, I want to eat Buddha jumps over the wall, squirrel mandarin fish, Yunxi tofu soup, and roasted whole lamb. You go and prepare the ingredients. Remember to be more careful when cooking. Chen San, my neck is a little stiff. You come and massage it for me. Use the rose essential oil I just bought. It smells good. Chen San. So when Shen San heard someone calling him, he subconsciously froze, fearing that the master would have another order. Whether it was when he was washing the master's feet or when he was a bag-carrying boy for her, these were things he had never done before. and he was very stiff when doing them. Even cooking, which was his best skill, he did not do well enough. After all, he had only learned to cook these hard dishes for a short time, and he was far from being as comfortable as he was when cooking home-cooked dishes. He was stumbling when cooking. A week later, Shen San was confused. He hadn't done anything wrong during this period of time, had he? Why was the master so unhappy? It had been going on for a week. If the master continued to be so unhappy, her health would be affected. He had to think of a way. However, after thinking for a long time, he didn't have any good ideas. After all, during this period of time, in order to make the master happy, he sent flowers to the master and made a beautiful big skirt for the master, but these methods were useless. He opened the forum again to seek help. This time, the netizens were much more reliable and gave a lot of suggestions. The most praised answer was, psychological research expert, up. According to surveys, most people will experience short-term depression when facing urging marriage. According to what you said in the post, she should be in depression and anxiety. You should comfort her emotions. Of course, the best way is to solve the problem of urging marriage, so that everything will be solved. Shen San read this answer 3 times, and suddenly a good idea came to his mind. Master, haven't you been very troubled recently? I have a good idea to help you. Yunxi raised her eyebrows, turned her head and looked at the apprentice who was massaging her shoulders and back behind her, feeling a little puzzled. Why was she so troubled? She had been quite happy to order him around recently. What's your idea? It's really embarrassing that Madame Jin has been urging you to get married, but as long as you get married, Madame Jin won't urge you anymore, right? Shen San said his good idea with a little pride. She twitched her eyes. Her aunt's urging to get married did cause her some trouble, but it wasn't so embarrassing that she had to find someone to get married to deal with it. She really didn't like being urged to get married. But finding someone to get married casually. Are you sure you're not jumping from a small pit to a big pit? What a bad idea. What if I just find someone to get married, and that person doesn't treat me well? She was afraid that she would get rid of the person in a fit of excitement. Then she would have to face jail time. Master, I certainly don't mean that you really get married. Shen San was startled and shook his head repeatedly, looking at her from behind. I mean, I'll pretend to be your partner, so that Madame Jin won't urge you to get married anymore. You? She paused suspiciously. Yunxi looked up and saw an enlarged smiling face, which was both refreshing and adult. She touched her chin and seriously considered it. However, Auntie judged at a glance, you girl, if you don't want to get married, just forget it, and don't just find someone to fool me. Forget it, forget it. I won't force you. It seems that you are still far from the opening. Auntie waved her hand helplessly. We won't look for it. You just want to have fun for a few years. Yunxi and Shen San sat in a boat and drifted on the sea. Although they were about to return to the forest continent, Shen San was a little depressed. It's hard to say what he felt. After Madame Jin saw through their acting, he just felt a little uneasy. But afterwards, he slowly felt an indescribable depression in his heart. Mrs. Jin did not find another partner for the master, but she seemed to think that they would not be a couple at all. Why was it determined at first glance that they were not really together? Could it be that he and the master did not look like a couple? Yunxi did not know Shen San's depression, and looked at the direction of the road seriously. Suddenly, her eyebrows moved slightly. Shen San, stop. Something is coming, she shouted and quickly drew her bow and arrow. The waves were rippled in circles, and with a shock, a huge figure enveloped their boat. Looking at the familiar big crab in front of them, the two were stunned. Isn't this the big crab they encountered on the beach before? If it weren't for this crab, Shen San would not have been pulled into the sea. The crab looked at them for a long time with its black eyes, and seemed to recognize them. It clamped its claws and rushed towards them. Yunxi was faster, and instantly shot 2 arrows at the crab's eyes. Chapter 105, Something happened to the sect. Shen San stood aside and quickly stabilized the boat. The master's attack power was very high, and one person was enough to deal with this big crab. As expected, he didn't have to wait long before the master easily defeated the crab and got the reward. Master, is there anything good? He asked casually while looking at the direction of sailing and controlling the boat. Yunxi flipped through the things he got from beating the crab and curled his lips. The game is getting more and more stingy. The reward is so small, and the level of this crab is not low. There's only 1 gold jewelry. If you want it, I'll give it to you. In fact, the meat of the crab is orange, But neither of them is willing to go to the sea for this thing. Yunxi swung the emerald jade bracelet in front of him without caring, not afraid that this thing would fall into the sea and be completely gone. Shen San glanced at the emerald green bracelet, and the attributes of the bracelet quickly popped up in front of his eyes. Although it was gold, he already had a thick chain with better attributes on his hand, and it looked very handsome when he wore it, unlike this jade bracelet, which was really not suitable for a man like him to wear. "I don't need this, master, you keep it," he frowned to refuse. Yunxi threw it directly into the space. If people outside knew that they were so extravagant that they even disdained gold-quality items, their eyes would turn red. Currently, no player in other places can get gold-quality equipment. Only they have so many gold items that they can be so picky here. Bracelet, Grievance JPG. However, the two people's boats had only sailed a short distance before they encountered a huge monster again, the octopus monster they had encountered on the sea. Yunxi, what happened today? Why do I always encounter these old acquaintances, monsters? Could this damn game have some settings, such as the monsters you encounter when you come out, you will encounter them again when you go home? Although she could easily win, she didn't want to fight monsters at all. She just wanted to sleep quietly and return to the forest continent. "Master, how about you come to row the boat? I'll go and get rid of the octopus," Shen San suggested. "No, I'll do it." Shen San's attack power is far lower than his own. He has to go to the sea to fight monsters, which is not an ordinary trouble. Yunxi raised his bow and arrow and attacked the octopus monster frantically. In this way, the two fought monsters all the way and approached the forest continent. Fortunately, they encountered a large number of monsters when they just went out to sea. After entering the deep sea, the journey became unusually smooth and peaceful. More than 2 months later, the two stood on the edge of the forest continent again. When they just landed, they were still a little uncomfortable and still felt like they were wandering on the sea. When they finally adapted to the land, they moved out the tables and chairs. "Master, are we going to cook here directly?" Looking at the ingredients all over the floor, Shen San was eager to try. At this time, a flutter sound came, accompanied by a small bird cry. The two looked up at the same time, and guessed in their hearts, someone should have written a letter to him, the apprentice. However, 2 carrier pigeons appeared in the air. One flew to Shen San, and the other flew to Yunxi. The speed of the 2 pigeons was almost the same. The 2 people unfolded the letter in almost the same way. After reading the letter, both of them frowned slightly, a cold light flashed in their eyes, and then put down the letter at the same time. If they didn't look different, they would look like mirror people. "Chen San, my sect wants us to go back for something. Do you have any plans, master? I have something to do at home. I sent a letter to you. I want to go back for a while." The two spoke at the same time. The next second, the master and apprentice couldn't help laughing. "That's it. I will write to you when the matter of my sect is resolved." Yunxi patted her skirt, got up and left. "Master, if there is a problem that cannot be solved, write to me, maybe I can help." Misty Rain Palace. Yunxi hurried back to the sect, but found that everyone in the sect looked unusually solemn. She frowned, suppressed the uneasiness in her heart, and quickly passed the crowd and came to the outside of the master's house. Without bothering to reminisce with her master, she asked directly, "Master, what happened?" The letter only said that the sect encountered trouble. "What kind of trouble is it?" As soon as these words came out, a gloomy expression appeared on the master's usually cheerful face, which made her more and more flustered. The sects in the water continent used to be similar to theirs, with many powerful people, but now they are torn apart. If the troubles encountered by the sects now are similar to those in the water continent, our Misty Rain Palace and the surrounding sects are going to fight, the master said lightly, as if it was just a small matter. But the expression on his face explained the problem. "Why? Can't we not fight?" She actually guessed it right. "Alice, we don't want to fight. No one in our Misty Rain Palace likes fighting and killing," Master sighed, his face full of helplessness. "But what sects are those? Those big sects that have just emerged recently. They want to join forces to fight us. They want to occupy our territory. Since they want to steal things, of course we can't give this land to them. Our Misty Rain Palace has been here for hundreds of years. How can we give it to them just because they want it?" As he spoke, he also got angry. Yunxi fell into deep thought. Aren't the newly launched sects that Master mentioned the big sects that players have been crazy about recently? In the setting of ancient times, there are many sects in each continent, but only some are completely open to players. As long as players follow the process to complete the tasks, they can easily join these sects. But there are also some hidden sects, such as their Misty Rain Palace, which players have to find ways to explore. At present, there are no more than 5 players who can join the hidden sects. You can imagine how difficult it is. She exhaled a foul breath in annoyance. She suspected that the players had received some kind of mission, so they gathered several sects to attack the Misty Rain Palace. In this case, it would be almost impossible to persuade the other party to give up. We have thought of a way. Yunxi raised her head suddenly. The tone of the master's words was like the tone of Shen Sen when he said he had a good idea. She couldn't help but be a little suspicious. Master, do you have any good ideas? This matter requires the most beautiful person among us to go there. The master did not explain what the method was, but instead pulled her to the main hall of the sect. Let's see who is the most beautiful girl first, and we don't necessarily need your help. Yunxi came to the main hall with a confused look on her face. The main hall was already full of people, but whether it was men or women, they were all dressed up carefully. The men were handsome and the women were elegant, each with their own style. Sitting among this group of people, her expression was a little subtle. Could it be that the good method that the master said was to use a beauty trap on the players' sects? But to the players, these NPCs are just paper figures. How can they make the players help wholeheartedly? Her face was wooden. The more she thought about it, the more unreliable it felt. However, before she could think of a better way, she was touched by someone next to her. Sister, it's your turn to vote. She came to her senses and looked at the box dangling in front of her. She wrote a number and threw it into the box. The boxes were passed down one by one until the last person finished voting. Then the people on the top began to count the votes. The recorders on the top were busy, but the disciples of the sect sitting below were all confused. It seems that the whole sect doesn't know what medicine is being sold. I wanted to ask the people next to me. Yunxi stopped thinking and sat there in a daze until she heard her name. She came back to her senses. Yunxi, let us congratulate these two for winning, the people on the stage read passionately, as if they were hosting some great competition. Yunxi walked to the front of the stage with a confused look on her face, and saw a handsome man smiling at her and standing beside her. The two were brought to the palace master. You two, the time for the survival of our sect has come. We have decided to establish friendly relations with other sects to overcome difficulties. Therefore, this mission is handed over to you. Chapter 106. You finally woke up. Yunxi, you are the main person in charge of this mission. Lian is only at the intermediate level. He is far inferior to you in terms of combat power, and his experience in the martial arts world is not as good as yours. Yunxi listened to the palace master's explanation and felt confused. The palace master said it very clearly, but she didn't understand it. What marriage? What cooperation? Is it what she thought? Senior sister, someone touched her finger gently. Yunxi was startled and came back to her senses suddenly, and saw Wen Lian looking at her with a worried look. What's wrong, senior sister? The palace master said that you should get ready. The teleportation array will be activated in about a quarter of an hour. Do you have anything you haven't taken? You have to pack it up quickly. Seeing Wen Lian's handsome face so close to her, she subconsciously held her breath and stepped back a little. Touching the tip of her ear, which was a little hot, she laughed dryly. I've packed it all. Lian, are you really willing to marry someone else? If you don't want to, sister, I am willing to. I'm very happy to be able to help the sect. Wen Lian shook his head gently, raised a finger to block her lips. A strand of his hair swayed across her cheek. His light brown pupils exuded a gentle light, and he looked at her quietly. Besides, it may not be that I can marry someone. I don't know who their sect will let me marry. It could also be you. Sister, you should be worried. At this point, he frowned slightly, with a fragile beauty that makes people want to take out their hearts for him. If I really have to choose, I would rather marry them than let my sister go. No matter what, when it comes to getting married, girls are always the more vulnerable party. Yunxi looked at Wen Lian's eyes full of sincerity. Her eyes moved slightly, and the tip of her ear turned red again unconsciously. Yunxi, Lian, get ready to go. A loud shout came from outside, interrupting their conversation. Looking at the teleportation array in front of her, Yunxi was slightly stunned. It turns out that the teleportation array can be opened by manpower? Then she was drifting on the sea before. Did she forget to recharge her IQ? Yunxi, I have given you all the letters. When the time comes, you can give them to the leader of the desert gate. The palace master gave her a big ship and asked her to put it in the package. You keep this ship. If the cooperation fails, you can take the ship back. The teleportation array can only send you there. It will be useless after using it once, Yunxi. It turns out that this thing is disposable. This kind of teleportation array that can only accommodate 2 people requires the cooperation of all the elders and the palace master to barely create it. What if the cooperation is successful? Should I write to you? Yunxi asked after putting away the big ship. If our cooperation is successful, the desert gate will automatically get our location and build a 2-way teleportation array. Then you can come back directly, the palace master said, without further explanation, motioning them to stand on the teleportation array. Go quickly, we can't hold on any longer. You will know when you go there, Yunxi and Wen Lian were pushed. The moment they stood on the platform, a flash of red light flashed on the teleportation array. Her expression was a little subtle. This was the first time she saw red light. It looked a little ominous. Nothing bad would happen, right? Ugh. Don't be superstitious. After the eyes went dark, the green mountains and clear waters around the 2 disappeared completely. When they opened their eyes again, there was only a vast desert. Senior sister, are you cold? When Lian looked at the sky getting darker and felt that the temperature was starting to drop. He couldn't help but worry about her. As he spoke, he took off his sheepskin coat. This was also something created by adventurers, warm and fashionable. Just as Yunxi was about to refuse, she saw that the coat had already been put on her, still carrying his residual warmth and a faint pine scent. Her body stiffened involuntarily for a moment, and her ears turned red in an instant. Lian, don't bother, I'm not cold, but you gave me the clothes, will you be cold? Seeing that he was going to take off his clothes again, she quickly stretched out her hand to stop him. Although the clothes in ancient times were layered and put on many layers, each layer of clothes was very thin. If this continued, he would probably freeze into an ice stick. When Lian saw that she was not really cold, so she stopped and smiled at her. Senior sister, don't worry about me, I'm very powerful, I will be promoted to senior soon, this little thing can't be difficult for me. After that, a gust of cold wind blew. He couldn't help trembling and sneezing. Yunxi was almost amused by this little junior brother, so she took off her sheepskin coat and carefully put it on him. He turned his head and was about to refuse. She held his hand and stopped him from moving. Okay, Lian, don't move. It will be bad if your clothes fall off. Don't catch a cold before you reach your destination. In the dark night, 2 tents were located somewhere in the desert, with a fire burning and firewood crackling. Yunxi looked at the map given to her by the palace master and fell into confusion. The teleportation array can only teleport them to a random place in the desert continent. The palace master said that after they came to the desert continent, they should follow the direction on the map and put the letter on the ground when they arrived at the entrance of the desert gate. In this way, the desert gate would open the door when it sensed the letter. But, now they have encountered a problem. That is, although they have arrived at the desert continent, the map is also very clear, the compass can be used, and at worst, the system can tell the direction. But she doesn't know where they are now. Only knowing the location of the desert gate, not knowing where they are, there is no way to find the way. Thinking that the Misty Rain Palace is still waiting for her to rescue, she suppressed her anxiety and tried to analyze the information. After working all night, when it was almost dawn, Yunxi finally found a clue and roughly confirmed her location. Calculating the time, they would reach the desert gate in about 4 or 5 days. She felt relieved, got into the tent and started to catch up on sleep. When she woke up, Yunxi looked at the dark sky outside, still a little confused. Did I only sleep for less than half an hour? She blinked her hazy eyes, and was about to fall asleep again, but suddenly found that the sky was getting darker and darker. She shuddered, turned over and sat up suddenly, and turned on the system. Damn! It has been more than 10 hours since she fell asleep. It's not almost dawn now, but just night. Why didn't Wen Lian wake her up? She frowned, and regardless of the cold wind, she immediately got into the tent opposite. In the simple tent, the handsome man kept getting into the sleeping bag. The hair on his forehead was soaked with sweat, and his face was as pale as paper, as if he would lose his breath in the next second. Yunxi's heart skipped a beat. She stretched out the back of her hand and tested Wen Lian's forehead. It was scorching hot. She retracted her hand in fear and leaned over to push his shoulder. "Lion? Wake up." When the lion seemed not to notice anything and was still sleeping quietly, a bit like Sleeping Beauty, and a bit like a terminally ill patient. Yunxi used a blood recovery skill, but it did not help his situation. She had to use her medical skills to investigate. Exogenous wind cold, it must be treated with decoctions for wind cold. When Lion woke up in a strong smell of medicine, he barely opened his eyes and looked around. The girl in goose yellow clothes was squatting by the fire, fanning herself from time to time with a fan in her hand. The things in the stove seemed to be cooked, gurgling, and bursts of green smoke came out, accompanied by a faint medicinal fragrance. "Senior sister," Yunxi turned around immediately after hearing this soft voice. "Junior brother, you are finally awake." When the giant seemed to have taken off his usual gentle mask at this time, blinking his watery eyes and looking at him, like a kitten acting coquettishly, pitiful and cute. "Senior sister, why are you here? What are you cooking?" "Don't cook, let me do this kind of work." He seemed not to be fully awake yet, his voice was soft, and his eyes were even more watery. Hearing this low and coquettish voice, she almost knocked over the medicine stove by mistake. She hesitated for a moment, put down the small fan in her hand, and leaned over. "Lion, are you okay? What is this?" She stretched out 2 fingers and waved them in front of him. Chapter 107 False. "What is this?" When the lion blinked, his handsome eyebrows moved slightly, and his thin lips opened slightly. Yunxi's eyes lit up, and her heart was full of hope. She moved her 2 fingers closer and her ears closer. Junior brother should not have completely lost consciousness. He can still recognize things. Huh? Looking at the 2 fingers suddenly held by her junior brother, the joy on her face froze. "What?" When the lion gently held her slender jade fingers like green onions. The warm and soft touch of her fingertips told her that she was not dreaming. So sweet, his voice was soft, and because he was holding her fingers, it was still a little unclear. Looking at the pair of eyes full of water and the slightly flushed cheeks, she subconsciously stopped the movement of pulling her hand back. After a long time, she realized something and suddenly pulled away. The burning heat on her cheeks made her a little breathless, and the whole tent seemed to be filled with the seductive pine scent of the man. Yunxi avoided his sight, whispered, "The medicine is almost ready, I'll pour it for you," and hurried away. After walking out of the tent, she patted her face, stood still for a long time, and after blowing the wind for a while, she calmly returned to the fire. Junior brother must have lost consciousness just now, otherwise he wouldn't have done this. I just hope that when junior brother wakes up, he doesn't still remember this, otherwise it will really be a large-scale social death scene. However, she changed her mind and felt that this was done by junior brother, not her, so why should she be socially dead? Thinking of this, her embarrassed blush just now completely disappeared, leaving only a little indescribable feeling. She just chopped wood to make a fire, picked up medicine and took the stove, and she didn't know how many bacteria were on her hands. When Lian was already sick, and now. Yunxi glanced at the junior brother in the sleeping bag and was a little worried. I hope the junior brother's condition will not get worse. The next day, Yunxi looked at the lively junior brother and breathed a sigh of relief. The most wonderful thing is that he doesn't remember what happened yesterday at all. This way, she doesn't have to worry about any embarrassment when they get along. Sister, because I was sick and wasted a lot of time, let's go find the desert gate. Don't worry, I found the right way, we'll go straight later. Interstellar World. Capital Star, a 5-star restaurant. The sun shines through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the translucent beige curtains block part of it, but most of the sun still shines into the house. The fake flowers on the windowsill are fragrant. However, Fu Jinheng, who was sitting in it, was in a very unhappy mood. He looked down at the time on the light computer. 20 minutes. It has been more than 20 minutes since the agreed time. The eldest brother hurriedly sent a message to tell him that he was coming here to attend a very important meeting. What's urgent? Is this a joke? In order to catch up with this supposedly very important meeting, he quit the game, changed into a suit, and rushed here in a hurry. There was a traffic jam on the way because of a car accident, so he got off the car and ran all the way here. As a result, after he came here, he didn't see a single person. He rubbed his eyebrows and leaned back tiredly. If I had known earlier, I would not have come. It would be more fun to go on an adventure with Master. After sitting for another 10 minutes, seeing that no one came, he relaxed his brows, paid a bill in a cold voice and was about to leave. Who knew? Sorry, I'm late." An elegant and charming voice sounded not far away. Fu Jinheng frowned and turned back. With the sun behind her, a woman with wavy curly hair, wearing a red tube top skirt, slender red high heels, and a smile on her red lips, walked towards him. Fu Jinheng. Is this the important meeting that Big Brother said? Well, let him listen to what is going to be said in this meeting. Both parties sat down. The woman's dark eyeshadow looked a bit heavy under the light. Sure enough, Master is still more beautiful. Try to put on a heavy makeup for Master next time, he said to himself. His voice was too soft, and the woman didn't hear it clearly, but she thought it was something like he was infatuated with her. She was tired of hearing it. She snorted with disdain, looked him up and down, and then went straight to the point. Mr. Fu, I think you know what we're here for today, right? I'll tell you directly, someone like you is not worthy of me. If Jiu Yan wants to get married, she must marry the best man, whether it is character, wealth, appearance, everything, she must be the best. Although Mr. Fu has a good family background, his personality is too dull. She has been in for so long, and he not only didn't pull out a chair for her, but also didn't pour her wine. In short, this man is not good. Fu Jinheng. The other party looked at him like the ladies in the vegetable market looking at pork, which made him feel uncomfortable, and what she said afterwards surprised him even more. Big Brother, this honest man, has actually learned to be bad. He can also play tricks. What important meeting? Is blind date so important? After Jiu Yan finished speaking, she ignored him and left the restaurant gracefully with her bag in her cat-like steps. Fu Jinheng looked at her back as she walked away and couldn't help but hold his forehead. If he had known that this blind date was a sheer waste of time, he would have stayed at home and gone to her sect with his master. When he was away, his master must have missed him a lot, right? Thinking that his master would miss him so much that his eyes were filled with tears, he became anxious and quickly called a taxi to go home. Yunxi with tears in her eyes, Yunxi didn't think about her own apprentice at all. She was already busy as hell. Senior sister, you've worked hard to negotiate with a desert sect. Can I sing a little song for you? Senior sister, I made you your favorite dessert. Maybe the cooking skills are not very good. I don't know if you like it, senior sister. Every night when they returned to their residence, Wen Lian always stuck to her tightly, as if he was afraid that she would run away. She sat down with one butt, and she was so tired that she didn't bother to care about the issue of manners. She rubbed her brows with a headache. Junior brother, you don't have to be like this. I'm not that fragile yet. Senior sister, please don't reject me, okay? When the giant squatted down, looking at her quietly, the desert sect insisted that you marry over there. I know you've been very hard during this period, and I can't help you with anything else now, so I was thinking if I could massage your shoulders and back so that you can relax. If I don't do anything, I won't be able to forgive myself, he said with tenderness in his eyes and eyebrows. If possible, senior sister can also try to rely on me. The matter of negotiating with a desert sect. I'm not suitable as an outer disciple, but I can handle other trivial matters. Yunxi looked at his eyes that seemed to be glowing, and swallowed back the words she was about to refuse. I want to rest. When the giant smiled and covered her with a quilt, sitting by the bed and singing a lullaby softly. She closed her eyes and gradually relaxed. Yunxi and Wen Lian stood side by side, watching the teleportation array not far away gradually being built. This time, the teleportation array was different from the previous one they used. It was a two-way, stable, and multi-person teleportation array. After the teleportation array was successfully established, the two returned to the Misty Rain Palace. Palace Master, the leader of the Desert Gate, agreed to a request, but he said he wanted to come over and talk to you. Yunxi hesitated for a moment, but still did not tell the Desert Gate leader about their strange reaction. Anyway, the Palace Master was about to meet the real person, so let the Palace Master deal with those weird people. A few days later, the Palace Master of the Misty Rain Palace and the Desert Gate leader met in the hall of the Misty Rain Palace and discussed for a whole day. Yunxi didn't know what they discussed specifically. The only thing she knew was that she was getting married. I'm sorry for involving you in this matter. I originally promised to marry the person I love the most, so I will never touch you. Please rest assured. The eldest brother of the Desert Gate came to her, his eyes full of fatigue. After we complete the wedding ceremony, this fake wedding will end. It's mainly to comfort the disciples of the sect. Yunxi nodded, showing her understanding. Don't worry, the eldest sister will wake up soon. It was not until the leader of the Desert Gate and the Palace Master communicated that she knew that the eldest brother of the Desert Gate and the eldest sister of their Misty Rain Palace had been in love for a long time. It's just that the eldest sister was seriously injured in the last mission and has not woken up yet, otherwise she would not have anything to do with this marriage. Chapter 108, Large-Scale Sect Struggle. When Fu Jinheng came online, he was still staying in a corner of the beach, but his master had already disappeared. Many pigeons flew over one after another. He opened the letters sent by his friends and found that they mentioned the same thing. The first large-scale sect struggle is about to begin, Brother Shen San. The sect struggle is about to begin. You should join the sect quickly. You must complete at least 10 tasks in the sect before you can participate in this large-scale struggle. Brother San, I heard that you can get a lot of rewards in this large-scale struggle, especially the higher the status of the NPC killed, the more rewards you will get. Brother San, when you come back, remember to collect the things I gave you. It is a new medicine we have researched and has a good blood recovery effect. Shen San looked at the large-scale sex struggle they were talking about, and felt that his head was full of question marks. He had only been out for a few days, but it seemed like a century had passed. He couldn't understand what they said. After frowning and thinking for a while, he took the lead in writing a letter to his brother, severely complaining about a meeting he had found for himself, and he would never help again next time. After that, he logged onto the forum, checking the information of this event while replying to other people one after another. This large-scale sex struggle copy was opened by a player who accidentally encountered a special task. The task content is to connect the sects of the major players and attack a sect together. The sect to attack is chosen by the player who opened the task. The message posted by this player has been pinned. Hello everyone, this sect large-scale task was opened by me. Because I am from the Forest Continent, the sect I chose to attack is the strongest sect in the Forest Continent, Misty Rain Palace. There is no player in this sect, all are NPCs, there is no need for us to kill each other. Let's do a big fight. He read this passage and felt very calm. What large-scale sect struggle, what Misty Rain Palace, these have nothing to do with him. He has no desire for good equipment and weapons, what the master gave him is good enough. He just wants to find the master quickly and be with the master, instead of doing any tasks. Thinking of this, he wrote a letter and sent it to the master. In the same forest continent, the speed of carrier pigeons was much better. Although it was not as fast as sending messages by optical computers, he received a reply within half an hour. Chen San, you go and play by yourself first. The master has something to do and can't go out with you for the time being. Have fun. Looking at this short letter with a bit of sloppy handwriting, he frowned. The master has always been calm and unhurried in doing things. When has he ever written such messy and sloppy words? She has a big problem. Shen San became more and more worried and wrote a letter to her, asking if there was anything he could help with. At the same time, he also sent her a lot of blood and mana recovery medicine. Although the master might not be able to use it, what if she happened to be short of medicine? However, the bad thing was that after sending this letter, he never received a reply, but instead received a lot of blood and mana recovery medicine, which was better than what he gave. Shen San suppressed his inner uneasiness, rubbed his eyebrows, turned around and left the beach. Since the master has no time to come here, he can only go somewhere else first. Well, let's go to the sect they mentioned first. Third brother, you are amazing. The younger brother of the Fu family gave a thumbs up. It's only been half a day and you have completed the daily tasks. You can participate in the sect struggle tasks. I thought you could participate when most of the tasks were over. Shen San snorted and raised his eyebrows. Look at my current level. I must be the first on the list. This task is not difficult for me. He is already in his 80s, and there is at least a 10-level difference between him and the younger brother who is still stuck at the advanced level. Of course, it is easy for him to fight. The younger brother of the Fu family was shocked and immediately opened the leaderboard. He looked at the 87th level on the first place in disbelief and murmured, "Third brother, you are actually level 87. This is 87? What 87? Shen San suddenly frowned and opened the leaderboard in confusion. He is obviously only level 83. On the leaderboard, the first place in the golden position has its name hidden, but the level is clearly visible, and the two big words 87 come into view. His pupils trembled, and he continued to look down. He saw his name in the second place, but he also hid his name, so others only saw his level 83. From the third place, It is 69, and it will only be lower. The first and second are almost on top. I'm not the one at level 87, I'm only level 83. Shen San's eyes were a little dazed. How did the number 1 do it? He can actually reach level 87. Could it be that he doesn't eat, drink, or sleep to level up? Even Shen San sighed a little. The number 1 is indeed worthy of its reputation. He admires this level of effort. Third brother, I see that you are also leveling up without eating, drinking, or sleeping. By the way, why can you all break through level 69? I have been stuck at level 69 for a long time, but no matter what, experience is that I have never been able to break through. The younger brother of the Fu family looked at everyone's comments and found that they were all asking this question. To be honest, except for the top 2 on the list, everyone else who upgraded quickly also reached level 69, but everyone encountered the same problem. Stuck level. Shen San was confused when he heard this. It took him a long time to recall that this had indeed happened before, but with his master by his side, everything was easily solved, so he naturally didn't worry. I got a pill specially used for breakthroughs, and I naturally upgraded after taking it. Shen San recalled the taste of the pill. The pill tastes a bit bitter, but it's not particularly unpalatable. The pill is white. Wait? A pill for breakthroughs? The younger brother of the Fu family almost cried when he heard this. Even in a big city, it's not easy to find pills, let alone pills specially used for breakthroughs. Brother San, where did you get this elixir? How much does it cost? Shen San thought of his master who was busy somewhere, and he was helpless. This elixir was given to me by someone else. I don't have it anymore, so don't even think about it. The younger brother of the Fu family was certainly not someone who would give up so easily. He pestered his brother for several days, but in the end he didn't get any useful information. Instead, the progress of the large-scale sex struggle task changed. At this time, all the players put down other things at hand and began to pay attention to the progress of the task. Have you eaten today? How could this happen? Our major sects are all ready and waiting to set off, but the progress of the task suddenly dropped from 50% to 20%. What's the point of us brushing the tasks for so long before? Such a serious bug, the game must compensate us severely. Star Chasing Girl, I just asked the game customer service, and they said they are still investigating and we have to wait a while to know what the problem is. The most handsome man in the star, the company of Ancient is really weird. Other game companies have manual customer service, only their company has all robot customer service. Star Chasing Girl, I'm back. According to the customer service, everything is normal. The reason for the regression of the task progress is that the NPC of the hostile sect has discovered our actions and is preparing to unite with other sects to resist. Shen San frowned after reading the information in the post. The NPC in Ancient is indeed very intelligent. They know to unite with other sects to resist, and so far, the task progress is still slowly decreasing. Once the task progress drops to 0, the large-scale struggle task of the sect will be considered a failure and cannot be started again. For a while, everyone in the game began to get busy. Players posted useful information on the forum. Someone integrated these messages together and then issued tasks, allowing everyone to act according to their own strengths. People from other continents complained that they could not intervene in this matter. No player has come forward to say that he can cross the continent. Basically, he will return to the rebirth point within a few minutes after entering the sea. Shen San thought for a while and decided to explore this Misty Rain Palace himself. Maybe he can discover the plan of the Misty Rain Palace and disrupt their actions? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 It's So Cold. When Shen San successfully sneaked into the Misty Rain Palace, he was not excited, but became more alert. Logically, the security of this legendary hidden sect should not be so simple. If you can sneak in easily, how can you be called the best? He frowned slightly, and when he saw someone coming, he quickly returned to calm. Are you the disciple who came to attend the wedding? Why are you here? There is nothing fun here. If you want to visit, I will take you to the cafeteria. The little girl in the purple skirt saw him and immediately greeted him with a smile, stretching out her hand to signal him to follow. He lowered his eyes and pretended to be a little timid. I just joined. I am not familiar with the way here. The purple-dressed girl smiled more enthusiastically, took him around the entire sect, and when she unlocked the entire sect map, he finally knew why he sneaked in without being discovered. It turned out that the Misty Rain Palace and the Desert Sect joined forces to strengthen the cooperation between the two sides through marriage. 3 days later, the eldest brother of the Desert Sect will marry the elite disciple of the Misty Rain Palace. The wedding will be held in the main hall of the Misty Rain Palace. Many people from other sects have come here, waiting to watch the ceremony 3 days later. Because there are so many people coming, many disciples from other sects have also come to join in the fun, so the patrol of the sect has naturally been relaxed. Shen San found an excuse and separated from the girl in purple clothes. He wandered around the sect alone and recorded the video. He was leisurely here, but for other players, they couldn't even find the entrance to the Misty Rain Palace. The players who accepted the exploration mission complained bitterly. At this moment, Shen San suddenly heard the system prompt, "Congratulations to the player for successfully sneaking into the enemy sect and successfully unlocking the mission disrupting the wedding, disrupt the wedding of the disciples of the Misty Rain Palace and the Desert Sect. The progress of the task of attacking the Misty Rain Palace will increase to 70%. Do you want to report your name to the whole server?" Shen San chose to hide his name without hesitation. For this mission, he really didn't know what to say. It doesn't sound like a serious task. The next second, all the players in the server heard the system's prompt sound, and their eyes widened as they watched the system broadcast the task details 3 times. The forum exploded instantly. "Star Chasing Girl, is it the first or second place boss who sneaked in? That's amazing. The most handsome man in the star-studded universe. It's very simple to destroy the wedding, just snatch one of the people who are going to get married away. Smart man, don't be silly. It's easy to get someone back if you snatch someone away. According to me, there are drugs for sale in the clinic. Just sprinkle the drugs into the well, and everyone will be unable to move, and the wedding will naturally be cancelled." Netizens expressed their opinions. Shen San twitched his eyes, closed the forum, and decided to go and see the 2 protagonists of the wedding in person before deciding what to do. "This way, please." The girl in purple clothes smiled and led the way for him. But Shen San felt something strange. As soon as he opened his mouth, the girl in purple clothes agreed to take him to see the bride without asking anything, but the groom couldn't see anyone. "Is it really appropriate for a man from outside to meet the bride?" he said calmly, but he didn't miss the expressions of the people around him. The purple-clothed girl bit her lower lip gently, but finally sighed. "It's okay, guest. Girls are always very nervous before getting married. If you can make our bride happy, we will definitely treat you as a guest of honor in the Misty Rain Palace." Shen San remained calm on the surface, but his vigilance had reached its peak. With a creak, the brown-red wooden door in front of him slowly opened. Opposite was a large window. Looking directly at it, you can see this small lake outside, with the sun shining down and the waves sparkling. "Senior sister, someone came to see you," the purple-clothed girl said softly, and then turned to look at him. "This young man, I will take you here." After that, she turned around and left without any reluctance, and closed the door of the house. Shen San's eyes sank. Is there really something abnormal? If there is nothing wrong, why do they let a man and a woman who are not husband and wife be alone in a closed room? Gripping the weapon tightly in his hand, he quickly scanned the whole room. To the left of the window was a large carved wooden bed, with a set of tables and chairs in the middle, and on the dressing table on the right, a girl sat with her back to him. Shen San's hand holding the giant sword was ready to move. Good opportunity. While the bride is not paying attention, can't he complete the task by knocking her out and taking her away? Without the bride, the wedding naturally can't go on. However, he just stood behind her. "Who are you?" The bride suddenly turned her head. When they saw each other's face clearly, their faces changed. "Master, Shen San." Yunxi never thought that she would see her apprentice in the Misty Rain Palace. "Why are you here?" she asked in surprise, and as she spoke, she pulled him to sit on the stool. Shen San was a little stunned and subconsciously followed her movements. It was not until he sat on the stool for a long time that he came back to his senses. "Master, why are you here? I heard you are getting married? Are you from the Misty Rain Palace?" He didn't know how he finished this sentence, as if he was hit by a club. She was obviously wearing a red dress, with a very beautiful hair comb, decorated with intricate hairpins, and a light and appropriate makeup on her face, which made her face even more delicate. But dressed up like this, for her fiancé? Shen-san couldn't tell why he felt so dazed, he just felt that he couldn't breathe suddenly. What happened to him? I'm getting married in 3 days, Lu Yunxi smiled lightly and made him a pot of tea. When she looked up, she saw that his face suddenly turned pale. I didn't expect you to come here. You should come to see me on the day of the wedding. Shen-san. What's wrong with you? Her face changed, and she caught the fallen Shen-san. After the diagnosis, she was a little suspicious whether she had made a wrong diagnosis. Shen-san actually fainted because of a major blow. The problem is, wasn't he fine when he just came in? In just a short while, what kind of blow could he take? Lu Yunxi poured him a bowl of medicine, and seeing that his complexion returned to normal, she was relieved immediately. After Shen-san woke up, he opened his eyes and didn't know what he was thinking. It was quiet for a long time. Master, are you really willing to get married? Are you forced? If you don't want to, I will take you away now. He suddenly sat up, looking at her quietly, but his eyes were full of determination. Seeing that he was about to pull her hand, she smiled and shook her head. It's not like that, I was not forced, I married voluntarily, as she said, her eyes softened. Why? As my apprentice, don't you bless me? Aren't you happy for me? Because she was joking, she couldn't help laughing as she spoke. However, Shen-san's expression was very distorted, as if he was very aggrieved, and seemed a little lost but pretending to be happy. She was a little confused. What happened to the apprentice? It was only a few days since I last saw him, but it seemed like a century had passed. She didn't even know what her disciple was thinking now. Isn't this quite interesting? You can also experience the feeling of getting married in advance? Congratulations, Shen-san forced a smile and squeezed out 2 words from his mouth. His throat was blocked, even though he wanted to look natural. He said the blessing with a smile, but he really couldn't control his bad mood. He didn't want to say such words at all. What blessing? It's ridiculous. He has been with the master for so long, and he has never heard of any fiancé. Where did he come from? He's going to get married with her all of a sudden. He would never believe what the master said. What voluntary? Impossible. The master must have been forced. Right? Forced, right? He looked up and saw the master's happy smile. She smiled so happily when she mentioned getting married. Did she really like that person so much? Shen-san felt that his heart seemed to have fallen into a bottomless cliff and kept falling down. It's so cold, he hugged himself tightly and felt cold all over. Why is it so cold? Chapter 110 Crying in the Corner. Lu Yunxi was shocked when she saw Shen-san hugging his arms, mumbling it's so cold while walking out in a trance. Why is it so cold all of a sudden? Did her disciple just get sick and she didn't diagnose it? Shen-san was too fast for her to stop him. When she ran to the door, she couldn't see him anymore. She stood there helplessly, dragging her heavy wedding dress, slowly lowering her outstretched hand, and dragging her skirt back to the room. She'd better not run around. If she gets lost, the wedding won't be able to go on. On the other side, Shen-san was walking in the misty rain palace in a daze. The purple-clothed girl who passed by was shocked when she saw this scene. Sir, what's wrong with you? If you are drunk, we have prepared a hangover soup here. Seeing him fall to the ground with a thud, the purple-clothed errand disciple screamed. Hurry up, help. Someone has fainted. The errand disciple who had never been out of the martial arts world had never seen such a scene before, and was so scared that she was at a loss. However, this place was a very remote place. She shouted for a long time, but no one passed by to help. She walked around tremblingly, trying to look further away. A figure flashed by not far away. Sister, someone has fainted, what should I do? Her eyes lit up and she immediately waved over there. At this time, she did not notice that a white light flashed behind her, and the fainted person had disappeared. Where is he? The person who fainted? Strange, he was here just now, in the holographic cabin. Red light flashed, and the beeping alarm sounded in my ears. Danger. Danger. The robot butler reminds you to pay attention to your physical health. Emotional ups and downs are not conducive to longevity. Fu Jinheng held his forehead, cursed in pain, and barely climbed out of the holographic cabin. He turned off the noisy alarm, and his forehead didn't hurt so much. He opened the curtains. It was late at night. In the night sky, the moon was high and the stars were shining. He stood blankly by the window, blowing the cold wind for a long time, feeling dazed. What was he going to do? Yes, it was nighttime, and he should go to bed. Like a robot, he methodically opened the quilt, lay down in the bed, then covered himself neatly with the quilt and closed his eyes. 5 minutes passed. He suddenly opened the quilt, bringing up a gust of wind. No. He couldn't sleep at all. Lying on the bed, he just felt uncomfortable all over. Fu Jinheng thought for a while, changed into casual clothes, and drove the aircraft to his friend's place. Hey! How come our young master of the Fu family is out too? It's so rare. The friend drunkenly put his arm around his shoulder, burped, raised his glass and was about to clink glasses with him. Come on, let's drink this cup together. Fu Jinheng was in no mood to play with him, and was about to refuse, but when he turned around and saw the shamit hairstyle on his head, he almost burst into tears. Are you crazy? Why did you give yourself such a hairstyle? Although the friend was romantic and unrestrained, he was not a non-mainstream person. When it came to this question, the drunk man suddenly burst into tears. She likes this type the most. She likes it, so I went to cut her hair like this, but she still rejected me. Ha ha ha. Looking at his friend who is crying and laughing, Fu Jinheng felt bad. Drink this cup. Good brother. As he spoke, the shamit suddenly raised his glass again and poured him a glass of wine. The two sat together, clinking glasses non-stop, drinking almost desperately. You're so drunk. What's wrong? Brother, are you also heartbroken? The friend didn't know whether he was sober or drunk, and suddenly showed a strange smile. No, it's just that a friend of mine is getting married. Fu Jinheng paused and said reluctantly. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Isn't it a happy event for the master to get married? Why can't he be happy at all? His heart was empty, as if there was a cold wind blowing. You don't understand this. The shamit who seemed to have fallen asleep on the table suddenly sat up straight, and approached him with a gossipy face. You are in love with her. What friend? I think the person you like is getting married. You are jealous. Ha ha ha. You have a day too. I thought you would never like anyone in your life. Shamit suddenly became excited, and curiosity urged him to come over. Who is your friend? Do I know him? Like? How could I like? When thinking of that person, Fu Jinheng felt his heartbeat suddenly speed up, and his face changed slightly. Did he really like his master? An NPC? Yes, I like her. Shamit didn't know if he was thinking of his sad love. When you like someone, you always think of her all the time. In order to make her happy, you will find a way to pick even the moon in the sky. You will take care of her carefully, for fear that she will be hurt. Fu Jinheng recalled the appearance of his master when he was with him. Her every smile, every move, all touched his heart. Feeling his heart beating violently, he gently closed his eyes. What should he do with her? When Fu Jinheng went online, the Misty Rain Palace was much more lively than before. Not only were there people coming and going, everyone had a smile on their face, but the surrounding decoration was also very festive, all red. He frowned, thinking that this scene was a bit dazzling. He took a deep breath and immediately cancelled his task of disrupting the wedding, ignoring the uproar on the forum. What a joke. If he completed this task, wouldn't it mean that the player's attack task has made further progress? The Misty Rain Palace was breached, and it would be strange if the master didn't hate himself to death. What's more, if it weren't for someone opening some ghost sect fighting task, the master wouldn't have to marry someone else. He wouldn't have to be so upset. After cancelling the task, the progress of the sect attack task really didn't change. He nodded with satisfaction, looked at the time, and found that the wedding would be officially held tomorrow. He immediately returned to the previous room. Beside the dressing table, a woman in a bright red wedding dress sat quietly. Although he only glanced at it from the corner of his eye, he still found that this wedding dress was better than the one he wore before. Master, can we not get married? Shen San didn't walk over, and didn't even dare to look at the back. He just stood there, silently lowering his head. If you are really worried about the sect, I can complete the wedding for you. The woman who was drawing eyebrows seemed to pause. Master, she turned her head, with an unpredictable smile in her eyes, and her tone was full of teasing. This is not the voice of the master. Shen San suddenly raised his head and looked at the woman seriously. The person in front of him was not the one he was worried about at all. He frowned instantly. Girl, who are you? Is the wedding going to be changed? Or is this the bridesmaid? He didn't understand the ancient wedding process very well, and he was even more confused at this time. The woman dressed in a gorgeous dress looked at him carefully, a trace of interest flashed across her eyes, and she walked forward with a smile. I didn't expect that junior sister Lu actually has such a handsome disciple like you. It's really enviable." Feeling the fragrance of the woman, Shen-san subconsciously stepped back a few steps to avoid her. "Girl, may I ask where my master went?" The woman sat down on the chair and lifted the hair beside her ear. Because the person she is going to marry likes me more, so the bride became me. She probably doesn't know which corner to hide and cry." When he heard the first sentence, Shen-san's mouth subconsciously opened, but after hearing the woman's second sentence, the smile on his mouth froze. Is the master sad because she can't marry the person she likes? She only met a few times, but she likes that man so much? What's so good about that man that she cares so much about him? "Thank you." He pulled the corners of his mouth, squeezed out 2 words, turned around and walked out. Before the door was closed, he heard the woman's voice in the room. Whenever she is in a bad mood, junior sister Lu likes to practice sword on the cliff in the west. Chapter 111, Faces So Red. Misty Palace, on the cliff to the west. There are towering ancient trees and lush trees here. The higher you go, the more misty it becomes, and you can't see the surrounding scenery clearly. As Shen-san climbed up, he looked around and soon found that there was a sound of sword swinging at the top. He slowed down his steps and approached slowly. At the top of the cliff, a familiar figure was holding a long sword, and her chopping and slashing looked like flowing water, very charming. Her eyes were firm and calm, with an unstoppable determination, as if nothing could stump her. Shen-san sat down and watched his master practice sword quietly. Although he had been an apprentice for so long, this was the first time he saw his master practice sword, and the first time he knew that his master could use a sword. He thought his master could only use a bow and arrow. "Shen-san, why are you here?" Yunxi put away the sword, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and looked at him puzzledly. "Are you feeling better from your illness?" "Sick?" Shen-san was stunned for a moment. "When did he get sick?" "That day you shouted that you were so cold, and then ran out like crazy. You scared me." She leaned over, looked at his face, and immediately felt relieved. "It seems that you have recovered." "That's great." Feeling the breath against his cheek, Shen-san felt as if his breathing had stopped for a moment. All the sounds and backgrounds were blurred, leaving only the bright smile in front of him. Yet, not knowing what she said, he responded subconsciously. It was not until the master put away his weapons and prepared to go down the mountain that he finally came back to his senses. "Master, are you okay?" Looking at the master who was no different from usual, he didn't know how to comfort her. The master must be heartbroken, but just pretended not to care. "Master, don't be sad. You will meet a better man in the future. Those who don't cherish you will definitely regret it." Shen-san put his arm around her shoulders and comforted her softly. "Yunxi? What? I'm not sad. What are you talking about?" She frowned, her face full of confusion, and only after hearing it did she vaguely understand something. "You're talking about a marriage." "Haha, it's not what you think." Yunxi led him down the mountain while explaining. "The person I was originally going to marry was the eldest brother of the Desert Gate. This is what happened. The eldest brother of the Desert Gate and the eldest sister of the Misty Rain Palace knew each other a long time ago. They loved each other and had been together for a long time. Suddenly, something happened in the Misty Rain Palace, and they needed a marriage to strengthen the connection between the sects. The eldest brother of the Desert Gate volunteered. He had wanted to tell his master that he wanted to marry the eldest sister of the Misty Rain Palace a long time ago. The leader of the Desert Gate was naturally unwilling. The eldest brother and the eldest sister were basically the backbone of the sect. What if they got involved with outsiders and destroyed their own sect? After being harassed, he reluctantly agreed. However, the eldest sister of the Misty Rain Palace was injured and unconscious at this time. Naturally, she couldn't get married if she was unconscious. The eldest brother of the Desert Sect reported to his master, hoping to postpone the wedding, but both sects disagreed. He had to take a step back and said that it would be okay to change the couple to get married. As a result, the leader of the Desert Sect said that if the couple was changed, the eldest brother would never think about marrying someone from another sect again. There was no choice. Yunxi was pushed out at this time to perform the wedding ceremony on behalf of the eldest sister, but in the end, it was still the eldest sister who got married. Just last night, the eldest sister suddenly woke up, and the fake bride, naturally didn't need to act anymore. After hearing this, Shen-san felt like he had drunk a large glass of iced drink on a hot summer day, and it was so refreshing. It turned out that the master didn't like that person at all. Great, After the dreamy wedding, the player's mission to attack the Misty Rain Palace was completely failed. Shen-san became a happy Shen-san again, following his master every day. He completely fell in love with the days with his master. Whether it was when they went out for adventures or when they sat quietly together and did nothing, it made him feel very at ease. Chen-san, I heard there will be a lantern festival tonight, do you want to go with me? Let's go together. He came back to his senses and responded with a smile. Night. The city streets are brightly lit, men and women are walking on the streets, the roadside stalls are emitting bursts of fragrance, and their smiling faces are reflected in the warm orange light. Chen-san changed into a very handsome outfit. This is what the master praised. The two agreed to meet downstream by the river. There are fewer people by the river, but there are many lanterns in the river, and they are still floating down from the upstream, making this place unusually bright and beautiful. He stood by the willow tree and kept looking around. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. I found the master. Tonight, she seemed to be dressed up carefully, wearing a light blue gauze skirt. When the wind blew gently, she looked like an immortal who was about to float away. He was about to call the master, but before he could say anything, he suddenly found a man standing opposite her. The man was wearing an indigo robe, and he was fanning himself gently with a fan in his hand. He had a handsome face and was very handsome. He looked like a scholar. The girls passing by blushed and looked over quietly. That young man is so handsome. I wish I was the girl with him, that girl is so beautiful too. They are wearing the same color clothes. They look so well matched. Shen-san's hand, which was about to be stretched out, stopped in midair. After a long while, he closed his mouth and slowly put down his hand. Well matched? His master and that man. What a joke. It's just that he didn't use his own face. His original face was too easy to cause trouble, so he lowered his appearance to keep a low profile. He secretly clenched his fist. Damn it. I should have used my real face earlier. Looking at the happy smile of his master not far away, he had all kinds of complicated emotions in his eyes. The matter of Misty Rain Palace was over, and his master didn't really get married. But what about the future? The master was getting more and more beautiful as he grew up. He is not the only one who can discover the treasure. More and more people will notice her in the future. What if the master really likes someone and wants to marry someone else? What should he do? He can't accept it. Shen-san clenched his fists, as if he had made up his mind, and immediately walked towards the two. Master, this, he was about to ask the master to introduce the other party with a smile, but as soon as he walked forward, the man said goodbye to the master and left. The words that were originally on the tip of his tongue were swallowed back. Have you been waiting for a long time? Yunxi didn't hear the previous words, so he smiled. No, we just arrived, let's go. He looked at the master's charming smile, his Adam's apple moved up and down, and finally didn't say anything, just followed silently. On the street, what attracted Yunxi the most was the various foods. Street snacks have different flavors, the sugar figures are lifelike, the sesame cakes are fragrant, and there are even many kinds of stir-fries that can fill the stomach. She looked at this stall for a while, and then looked at that stall, and the choice difficulty came up all of a sudden. She wanted to eat everything, but she only had one stomach. After walking for a while, she found that the stalls here seemed to have no end, so she simply stopped. Chen-san, let's eat one by one, let's eat this first. She pulled her apprentice's sleeve and looked down at the various snacks on the stall. However, at this moment, her sight passed by and she saw a familiar figure from the corner of her eye. She was so scared that she almost jumped up. It turned out to be Fu Yi, who had worked with her before. Damn. Yunxi glanced at the apprentice who was following silently beside her, and then glanced at the specific location of Fu Yi not far away, and confirmed the distance between the two. She pulled the apprentice and squeezed to the other side. Master, don't you want to eat? Shen-san, who was about to pay the bill, was stunned for a moment and hurriedly shouted. Let's go to the river to release lanterns, that's more fun. She made an excuse casually and pulled her apprentice away from the crowd. Shen-san didn't know why his master suddenly wanted to release lanterns, but he didn't want to think about these things anymore. The warm heat came from his fingertips and spread to the tip of his ear. I have heard that releasing lanterns is usually something unmarried men and women do together. It is both romantic and sweet. Master asked me to go together. Is it because she likes me too? When Yunxi pulled people to the dark river upstream, he saw that there was no one around, so he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Even if Fu Yi saw a figure, he would not be able to recognize who she was. Let's go. Why is your face so red? Chapter 112 Gift Giving. Lu Yunxi found that her apprentice had become very strange in the past 2 days. Originally, he was always open and frank when talking to her, but these days, he seemed to have become like a little wife. He would quickly look away when he saw her, but when she didn't look at him, he would hide and peek at her. This went on for several days in a row, and she was a little speechless. She skillfully cooked and watched Shen San secretly looking at her while making a fire. Finally, she couldn't stand it anymore. Lu Yunxi crossed her arms and looked down at her apprentice sitting by the fire. Shen San, what are you doing? These days, you have been peeking at me every day. Do you have something to say? He tilted his head, his eyes were wet, like a big dog who wanted to be hugged. She was a little angry at first, but softened and her voice became lighter. What is the relationship between us, master and apprentice? If you have something to say, you can't just say it. Shen San stared at her for a long time, his Adam's apple moved up and down, he took a deep breath, and was about to speak. However, as soon as he said a word, the voice next to him covered his voice. Lu Yunxi and Shen San immediately stopped talking and looked to the side. If you have something to say, just say it. What is the relationship between us? We are friends of life and death. The girl in red holding the long sword patted the shoulder of the big man beside her. Be a man, be direct, don't be fussy. The big man's forehead was covered with beads of sweat, which kept flowing down. He looked extremely nervous. He looked at the eyes of the girl in red for a while, then lowered his head and stammered, I cherish you, do you cherish me? The girl in red was shocked. Obviously, the big man's words exceeded her expectations. She stood there blankly for a long time, and then stammered, that? Actually, our sect has a rule that you are not allowed to get married in this life, you can only be single. At the end of the sentence, she closed her eyes tightly, with a mask of pain on her face. In order to make us not so painful, brother, you should not come to me again in the future. She ran away after shouting. The big man was stunned for a while, and then hurriedly chased after him. After watching this farce, Lu Yunxi finally pulled her attention back. By the way, Shen San, what did you want to tell me just now? Shen San was in a trance for a moment, muttering something in his mouth, and then he looked up and asked her, Master, does your sect also have a rule that prohibits marriage? Of course not. If there is, how did the eldest sister get married? Lu Yunxi was a little amused. Shen San lowered his head, thinking of the scene after the big man confessed just now, and swallowed back what he wanted to say. He has never been afraid of failure, but now he is a little scared. What if the master rejects him? Will we not even be friends in the future? Fu Jinheng sat on the bed blankly, his eyes empty. After a while, he suddenly remembered something, turned on the light brain, logged into the game forum, and checked the hidden mode. In the forum of Ancient, there are all kinds of strategies. Not long after, he found the relevant strategy NPC's favorability is related to the distribution of tasks and rewards. Some tasks can only be opened after reaching a certain favorability. However, you must pay attention when brushing the favorability. NPCs with different personalities have different preferences. You cannot use the same method to brush it. For example, favorability is a hidden attribute. You can observe how NPCs like you from their conversations and interactions. For example, they will give you gifts on your birthday. Generally, the favorability of this kind of people is over 50, and most tasks can be triggered if you want to capture an NPC. No one has succeeded so far, but I have some information about NPC strategies. If you need it, you can pay to view it. Fu Jinheng's face did not fluctuate. He chose to pay without hesitation and continued to read. It is twice as difficult for players to capture NPCs as it is for NPCs. That is to say, if a player and NPC A capture NPC B at the same time, the player needs to brush the favorability to 100, while NPC A only needs to brush it to 50. Therefore, when capturing, you must be wary of other NPC rivals. Some relationships between players and NPCs can get favorability bonuses, such as adoption relationships, master-apprentice relationships, etc. But if you want to marry an NPC, for the old-fashioned and polite NPC, such a relationship will be an obstacle. Seeing this, Fu Jinheng's heart skipped a beat. Is the master an old-fashioned and polite person? The messages after that were useless, mostly some posts teaching how to pursue the opposite sex. Fu Jinheng read all these posts and suddenly felt confident. According to the emotional masters on the posts, Pursuing the opposite sex only looks difficult, but it is not that complicated in fact. Common methods include 1. Giving gifts, such as flowers, cosmetics, bags, etc. 2. Dating, asking the person you like to go out to watch movies, go to amusement parks, and go to various tourist destinations. 3. After doing the above 2 steps more often, it is almost time to confess. Fu Jinheng looked at the plan he summarized again and again, nodded, and decided to execute it in order. The first gift. Shen San took a deep breath, put the flowers behind his back, and when he walked in front of the master, he suddenly took them out and handed them to her with both hands. Master, this is the flower I picked for you. Do you like it? Lu Yunxi looked at him holding a bunch of wild chrysanthemums in his hand and smiled. Of course I like it. I just wanted to eat some chrysanthemums because I was having a fever recently. You just fell asleep and the pillow came to me. I'll make some chrysanthemum cakes and chrysanthemum tea later. You can try them too. She happily took the flowers and excitedly took them to the water to wash them. Shen San, huh? He looked at her dully as she picked off the petals, leaving only the bare flower stems, and then soaked them in water. He immediately put on a mask of pain on his face. Isn't this the most popular flower on the Star Network rankings? It is said that descriptions of this flower have been found in many books unearthed from archaeology. It is so popular in every era. Why does she react like this? The second gift. Shen San ran all over the city and found the rouge shop with the most complete styles and was said to be the most popular among girls. Shopkeeper, a gift for the little girl. Ahem, do you have any recommendations? He pretended not to see the shocked expressions of the girls around him and said seriously. The shopkeeper smiled. Of course, this gentleman. Can you tell me what color she likes? The color of her skin? What rouge did she often use before? Shen San frowned, as if he was doing scientific research, and recalled it with a very rigorous attitude. The final result was that he bought a pile of cosmetics that almost piled up like a small mountain. Fortunately, the shopkeeper provided gift box packaging, which looked quite exquisite. When walking on the street, many girls whispered and cast envious eyes from time to time. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that his choice is in line with the preferences of most people, and there should be no problem. However, Lu Yunxi looked at the pile of cosmetics he gave her, but just raised her eyebrows, without any surprise on her face, and her expression was bland. She waved her hand and put it into the space, and said thank you. Shen San, Master, don't you like it? She paused. I don't know when I upgraded to a certain level, but the system suddenly had a one-click makeup function. I didn't even need to buy cosmetics. It was simple, convenient and fast. Although cosmetics were useless to her, if she didn't accept the gift from her apprentice, wouldn't it be a disrespect to her apprentice? I like it. I just don't use it often, but since it's your intention, I will naturally use it well. The third gift. Shen San didn't believe it. She didn't like flowers and rouge, but she must like bags, right? In order to buy a better bag, he specially found out about the master who specialized in making bags and went to the master's house to meet him in person. The master is worthy of being a master. The bags he made are all orange quality, with diamond-shaped textures embroidered on them, which look very beautiful. However, Lu Yunxi, who received the bag, just smiled politely. Her eyes were still calm. Thank you for your gift, I like it very much. Shen San didn't know that after she, a pseudo-NPC, discovered the secret of the holographic world, she was not very interested in these external things, as long as they were enough. Normally, she was only afraid that she was not strong enough and might lose her life if she encountered danger one day. Besides, she had an infinite space, so why would she care about these bags? Chapter 113, Is it a success? 3 times of gift-giving all ended in failure. Shen San had to start reflecting. Was there something wrong with his plan? However, after thinking about it, he couldn't figure it out. He could only secretly guess that it might be that the master's preferences were special. After thinking for a while, Shen San decided to suspend the plan of sending gifts and ask the master out first. Maybe they would get along better while playing together? So, Lu Yunxi found that his apprentice suddenly became very fond of playing. No matter where he went, he could find out where there were delicious and fun things in the local area in less than half a day. Master, let's go to the shadow play together today, he suggested with expectation. It is said that watching movies is a magic weapon to enhance feelings. There are no movies in ancient times, but I heard that shadow play is something similar. Seeing that he was so looking forward to it, Lu Yunxi couldn't refuse, so he agreed. In the evening, when it was a little dark, with the sound of music, the shadow play on the stage began lively. However, although Lu Yunxi had raised her level in music, chess, calligraphy and painting, it was just to be on the safe side. She didn't use such things at all. She herself had no feelings for art. Sitting in the audience, the people around her were excited, but her eyelids gradually drooped. Shen San, who was sitting next to her, was also very excited. Of course, he was not excited because the stage was so beautiful. Lu Yunxi was confused, and he, an interstellar person, couldn't understand the art on the stage. He was so excited because he was sitting next to his master. Although he had gone out with his master before, after confirming his feelings, the feeling of sitting next to her was different. The smile on his face kept rising, and he couldn't suppress it. The night obscured their expressions. No one around noticed the master and apprentice sitting at the back. Until, snap, Lu Yunxi opened his eyes instantly, with the cold light in his eyes, and bent the hand close to his chest with murderous intent. After a scream of awe, he slapped him a few more times. "You dare to take advantage of me? You are tired of living." Her voice was full of chill in the night, and the people on the other side felt cold. Shen San only then noticed a movement. The person on the other side wanted to take advantage of her, but he didn't notice it at all. "Master, are you okay?" He was shocked and immediately stood up and looked at her nervously. Seeing him approaching, his face was close to hers, looking from top to bottom all the way to the soles of her feet. The veins on her forehead popped up, and she kicked him hard. "I'm fine, I caught this person before he even touched me." The man who wanted to take advantage of her knew that he had kicked the iron plate, and immediately begged for mercy. Shen San then looked at the wretched man. His eyes seemed to be looking at a dead person. "Master, let me deal with him." She waved her hands impatiently, sat down and continued to doze off, letting Shen San drag the man away. Because the people in the front row were noisy and cheered loudly from time to time, their little things in the back did not affect the people in the front at all. After Shen San came back, he was about to apologize. After all, he didn't protect her well. However, the person next to him supported his head with one hand, bit by bit, and looked very sleepy. He closed his mouth and rubbed his eyebrows with a headache. This date, is it a success? Shen San is not a person who gives up easily. After summarizing the previous failed experience, he decided to use the wonderful trick recommended by netizens. Traveling, according to my experience of having 365 girlfriends a year, traveling is definitely your best choice. There is no woman who doesn't like traveling. No. The following is a specific tutorial. As long as you follow my tutorial, you will definitely succeed. 1. Invite the person you like to go to her favorite place. If you don't know the other person's preferences, then choose the beach. 2. Choose the right means of transportation. This is very important. Some people think walking is romantic. Please be careful. Never let a lady wearing high heels climb a mountain. Of course, the best choice is to call a super aircraft, preferably only for the lady. Shen San carefully memorized the strategy, and then found Lu Yunxi. "Master," he rolled his Adam's apple, and according to the requirements of the strategy, he put on a gentle smile. "I want to invite you to go to the beach with me. Are you willing?" Of course, Lu Yunxi looked at his strange expression and agreed immediately. Since she reached the master level, each level up requires a terrifying amount of experience points, so she didn't care so much about upgrading, just to see what happened to her apprentice recently. "I always feel that he is a little strange." The two discussed it and decided to go to the nearby beach. "I heard that there was an event going on these days, and the prizes were rich." "Master, do you need me to call a carriage to take you there?" "There is no such thing as an aircraft in the game, but there is a carriage. Isn't it the same?" Of course, there are also strange means of transportation such as pumpkin carriages and sleds, but no one has ever asked about them. I think the master would not like them, right? Considering her different aesthetics from ordinary people, he finally asked one more question without hope. "Are there other cars, such as sleds pulled by huskies, and deer?" Looking at the things written on the car dealer's list, he was a little confused. Lu Yunxi's eyes lit up, and she was extremely curious. She also leaned over to look at the list. "You still have these? Let's try elephant cart." However, the car dealer rejected the business in the end. "It's only a short walk from here to the fishing village you want to go to. If we use the elephant cart, it will be there in just 2 steps, right?" It will be even more troublesome to pull the elephant out. The two had no choice but to walk over. In less than 5 minutes, they arrived at a small fishing village by the sea. Couple big eater competition. Yunxi was confused. Big eaters are big eaters, and there are also couple big eaters. Who can guarantee that a couple are big eaters? Yes, our competition must be participated by a couple. The dishes we serve are eaten by men and women in turn. The couple who eats the most and the fastest is the winner today and can get our seafood reward, the host introduced with a smile. Yunxi and Shen didn't think much of it. Isn't it just seafood? They don't know how many times they have made it when they were practicing cooking? There are so many fresh ingredients that have been used, so why should I care about this? Are those ingredients the prizes for the winners? Yunxi swallowed her saliva, looking at the orange seafood that could almost fill a classroom, and she was eager to try. Even she had never seen so many orange ingredients, as if they were thrown into the box for free. Chen, shall we participate? She turned her head to ask her apprentice's opinion. What if he didn't want to pretend to be a couple with her, then she? Okay, before Yunxi could think of a solution, Shen responded. According to the emotional master, you should try to bring your favorite person to participate in local activities. In the lively atmosphere around, the favorite person will relax and be more likely to like you. Yunxi didn't notice that Shen-san's attention was completely focused on herself, but secretly observed the opponents around her. Most of the people who come to participate in the big eater competition are very fat people. Even if there are very thin people, the other party of the couple is fat. Among a group of heavyweight players, Yunxi and Shen, both of whom are thin, stand out from the crowd. After all the seats were filled, the host gave the order and the first plate of grilled oysters was served. Shen thought of the master of emotions' words, that he should try his best to show his gentlemanliness and take care of the ladies. He said without hesitation, Master Yunxi, I'll eat the first plate first. Yunxi's expression was not very touched, but she looked at him very strangely. Are you sure? She tried her best to restrain her eyes and not look down at her apprentice. What are you thinking? This is a game after all. Even if he wants to eat oysters, it doesn't mean he can't, right? She was thinking about it and didn't notice that her apprentice had already started eating. At this time, even if she wanted to change people, it would be too late. Shen ate fast enough, but the people around him should not be underestimated. The game had just started, and no one could pull out a clear gap. After he finished eating, a plate of grilled octopus was served. Great! I like grilled octopus the most. She clapped her hands, glad that she didn't insist on eating oysters just now. She grabbed a string of octopus and took a bite. It's so delicious. Shen-san's face was serious, and he immediately took out a small notebook and wrote, Master likes grilled octopus. Chapter 114, The Thing in the Palm. In the couple's big eater competition, all kinds of seafood were served one after another. Most of them were grilled with cumin and chili peppers. Of course, there were also ways to make fish sashimi and steamed, but these were rare. Because the ingredients were very fresh, the food tasted very good. Even if they didn't win the competition, they were happy to have such a meal. Scallops, celery, oysters, all kinds of seafood, everything. Yunxi even ate a plate of cold kelp shreds. Fortunately, both of them reached the master level, otherwise their digestion ability would not be so good. As the competition continued, the gap between the crowd gradually widened. The fastest eaters were Yunxi's group and a couple sitting next to them. The man was fat and the woman was thin. Although the woman in this couple was much thinner, she was actually a big eater. Yunxi and the other person looked at each other, and sparks flew in each other's eyes. Shen and the other man looked at each other, but their eyes were indifferent. The host on the stage was also paying attention to their situation. Look, everyone else has eaten too much, but there are still two couples who are still eating. It is said that thin people eat more. The two girls are not only slim, but also very good at eating. Who will be the final winner, Master? Forget it if you can't eat. Shen watched her eating at a consistent speed, and he couldn't help but worry. He just wanted to do something interesting with the Master, but it didn't mean that he wanted the Master to ruin his body. After all, the Master is an NPC, not a real person. What would he do if something happened? He patted her shoulder worriedly. Master, don't eat if you can't eat. Don't force yourself. Yunxi didn't know what he was thinking. In fact, she cherished her body more than anyone else, and she wouldn't joke about her body for such a small amount of food. touching her slightly full stomach. She didn't intend to embarrass herself. After this plate, I won't eat. Seeing that the master looked relaxed, he also relaxed in his heart and paid attention to the situation next door. The two people next to him had their veins bulging after eating so much, and the free person glared at them from time to time. Shen-san touched his stomach. Although his fullness value was full, he should be able to eat a little more. Master finishes this plate, and he finishes the next plate, and he will definitely win. He gritted his teeth and finally stuffed the last plate of cold jellyfish into his mouth. The two people next to him finally couldn't eat anymore, and fell to the ground with their stomachs. "I can't eat anymore," the man covered his stomach and said in pain. The woman herself had a pale face and didn't force him to continue eating. Yunxi saw that the two people finally stopped, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief, not noticing Shen-san's expression of sweating and forcing himself. When the host smiled and congratulated them, and handed them boxes of seafood, Yunxi was overjoyed. Until there was a loud bang behind. She turned around and saw Shen-san covering his mouth and falling to the ground. Shen-san, indigestion, abdominal pain caused by indigestion due to eating too much? No matter how delicious the food is, please control your diet. Yunxi looked at the results of her diagnosis and fell into deep thought. This kid also advised her not to force herself too much, but who was forcing herself? I thought the player's body would be fine, but who knew that she didn't eat too much? But it was him, the player, who was in trouble. Yunxi had no choice but to reach out and pour some essential oil, ready to give him a massage. However, as soon as she opened his clothes, she saw him shrinking into the corner like a frightened little rabbit, looking at her strangely with his eyes, and his face turned red like a big apple. What are you doing?" Seeing that he looked like a girl being forced by a bully, Yunxi twitched her eyes. "You have indigestion, but you can still hide so quickly." "Don't hide, I'm just giving you a massage. This method doesn't require taking medicine and is better for your body." However, Shen-san shook his head and refused to come out from the corner of the bed. He lowered his head, only to feel the soft touch and heat still lingering on his lower abdomen, and the tip of his ear could not help but feel hot. Yunxi couldn't climb onto the bed to catch him, and could only watch him hide away like a naughty child, feeling helpless. "Okay, then I'll get you some medicine, are you willing?" She reluctantly took out the digestive medicine from the space and handed it to him. He hesitated for a while before climbing out. After taking the medicine, his lower abdomen felt much better. After the commotion, both of them were a little tired. After saying good night to each other, they went back to their rooms and fell asleep. Yunxi slept soundly, but Shen-san next door tossed and turned. Although she didn't say anything, he always felt that today's date was not very successful. After all, after he fainted, it was the master who carried him back to the inn. He rubbed his eyebrows and smiled bitterly. According to the original plan, there were gifts and travel, and these steps were completed, and it was time to confess. But he had a hunch. The time to confess has not come yet. He sat for a long time, but couldn't fall asleep again, so he got up and walked back and forth on the balcony on the second floor of the inn to vent his irritability. However, what he didn't notice was that under the dim lantern, a pair of eyes flickered in the night. Chu-yan sat in the room of the inn. She had drunk most of the cans of wine on the table, but she was still sober. Damn it. Why? What's wrong with her, Chu-yan? She has a good figure, good looks, and money. What are those damn men not satisfied with when they marry her? She picked up a can of wine and drank it like drinking boiled water. The wine slid down the corners of her mouth, but she didn't care. Originally, she thought that with her status in the Chu family, it would not be difficult to find a capable man to marry. Who knew that they were all workaholics who only knew how to work and didn't know how to accompany her at all? Work, 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 is work so important? Thinking of those damned men, she felt indignant. At this moment, there were footsteps outside the door. The footsteps were very light, but as a trained young lady from aristocratic family, Chu-yan moved to the door almost instantly, with a weapon in her hand ready to go. Who is outside? A thief? Or a flower thief who was eyeing her? With murderous eyes, she slowly approached the door with her weapon. Just as she was about to attack, she heard the footsteps gradually fade away. Chu-yan was full of question marks, and she approached in disbelief. She looked out through the crack in the door and saw people outside walking back and forth on the balcony, looking like they were in a bad mood. A row of black lines slid down her forehead, and she was a little speechless. What a problem. walking around outside the inn at night without sleeping, not afraid of scaring others. However, when the man walked towards this side, in the faint moonlight, she saw the face clearly. It turned out to be the Fu family member she had dated before. Because the job of the third young master of the Fu family was a freelance worker, which didn't sound high-end and classy enough, so she rejected him without hesitation. Who would have thought that he was the best? Not only was he good-looking, but his family was also rich, so he didn't have to worry about starving to death, and he was free to work and could accompany her at any time, unlike those workaholics. Thinking of this, her eyes emitted a faint wolf light. The third young master of the Fu family is destined to be in her hands. Shen San, who was walking up and down on the balcony, suddenly felt a sore nose and sneezed. He rubbed his sore nose and secretly wondered who was scolding him. At this time, he was still worried that his relationship with his master was not going well, but he didn't realize that he was also being targeted. After walking on the balcony on the second floor of the inn for a quarter of an hour, his mood gradually improved. When he was about to enter his room, he saw the door next door suddenly opened. The master rubbed his messy hair, opened his sleepy eyes, and looked out. When he saw him, he was stunned. I felt that someone was walking outside, so I came out to check. Chen San, are you still suffering from indigestion? I have some digestive medicine here. No, I just walked because I couldn't sleep. Master, go to sleep. He softened his voice and coaxed. Yunxi nodded and yawned and returned to the room. Neither of them noticed the faint eyes in the dark night. Chapter 115 Lonely. Qian looked at the two people who were talking not far away. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. Even though the girl only showed half of her face, she was clearly a beauty just by looking at her fair skin and long, black and smooth hair in the dim light. Because she was facing away from him, she could only see a little bit of her profile and her slender back. She pursed her lips, and a hint of displeasure flashed across her eyes. Who is this woman? Why is she following the third young Master Fu? Doesn't the third young Master Fu realize that something is wrong? Is he so stupid that he allows those who want to cling to the powerful to follow him? Or, is he also like those love-brained people, infatuated with an ordinary person who came from nowhere? She carefully closed the door, her eyes slightly sank, and she sat at the table, gently pinching the brush with her fingers. After a long while, she finally put on a cold smile, and the brush in her hand moved rapidly. After checking the contents of the letter, she tied the letter to the leg of the carrier pigeon, watched the carrier pigeon fly away, and then lay down with peace of mind. Lu Yunxi's expression was a little subtle. At this time, she and Shen San were standing on a small island. It took about 5 minutes to row a boat from the edge of the forest continent. The scenery on this small island is beautiful, with azure blue sea and white sandy beach. Although it is much smaller than a small island, it takes almost half an hour to go around the entire island, but the scenery here still attracts many people. In particular, there is a mountain on the edge of the island. The other side of the mountain is close to the sea, rugged and steep, but the scenery on the mountain is very good. When you look down, it is a completely different feeling from standing on the beach and looking at the sea. But, what are we doing here? They came here to see the scenery, isn't it wrong? This place is more suitable for couples to come here when they are playing. Don't ask her why she knows that this place is more suitable for couples, because all the people passing by are in pairs, either hugging or kissing. In short, it is really embarrassing for them, the master and the apprentice, to be mixed in. Shen San didn't know what she was thinking, but smiled and looked down at her. Master, this is one of the most beautiful places in the forest continent, do you like it? Lu Yunxi looked up and looked at the apprentice who was a head taller than her. His eyes seemed to be glowing, full of tenderness and warmth. The words she wanted to complain about paused. Ah, not bad. She looked down at the sea below the cliff, the waves constantly hitting the cliff, rolling up waves of surging waves, very spectacular. Maybe it was because the sunrise was too beautiful, or the ocean was too magnificent, or maybe it was because Shen San's voice sounded too comfortable. She became lazy. The two of them watched the sun rise slowly, and the sky was dyed orange. At this moment, a very subtle sound came from behind. Lu Yunxi stepped aside lightly and avoided the attack. Lu Yunxi and Shen San turned around and looked at the group of masked people who suddenly appeared behind them expressionlessly. The little girl is quite capable. She was able to dodge our attacks. It seems that she has practiced before. The masked leader raised his eyebrows and said frivolously. Who are you? At the beginning, I hadn't encountered this group of people. Did I just run into them? Who are we? We are the boss of this mountain. Did you ask for our opinions before you came to this mountain? The masked leader laughed, and then his tone was full of threats. As long as you hand over your equipment obediently, we will spare your life. The expressions of the master and apprentice were a little subtle. After they reached level 80, few people came to trouble them. Especially when they were in the wild. I don't know if it was because the beast's intuition was more acute. Basically, the beasts that encountered them fled in panic. Only those guys of the same level as them would stay and fight them. As for people, there were even fewer people who troubled them. Battle maniacs basically go to dungeons, and although NPCs have different personalities, bandit-type NPCs are generally concentrated in certain locations. As long as they don't go. Huh? Is this also a gathering place for bandits? Just when Yunxi was in a daze, the people on the opposite side had already attacked with weapons raised. She was about to fight back, but she saw Shen-san blocking her. Don't be afraid, leave everything to me, they are just a group of minions. His voice was full of determination and confidence. Of course you have to be confident. Facing a group of guys in their 30s, it is not too easy to defeat them. Yunxi quietly hid behind him, without making any moves at all, and saw Shen-san deal with this group of rabble in 2s and 3s. Before leaving, they limped and said cruelly, "You two dogs and bitches, wait for me, we will come back again." She twitched her eyes, turned around and found that her apprentice was not angry, but had a smile in his eyes. Is Shen-san crazy? It's okay not to be angry when being scolded, but he is still so happy. It's too abnormal. What? Failed. Looking at Chu Yan's unbelievable eyes, the person sitting opposite him was sweating profusely. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, and his neat suit became a little messy because of nervousness. "Miss, it's not that our people are too weak, it's that man is too strong. Do you know that he alone can beat all of us? Although the people we send out are only in their 30s, there are quite a lot of people, more than 30 in total. It's amazing to be able to fight 10 alone, but that man can easily beat more than 30 people. You can imagine how strong he is." The man in the suit looked at the young lady's calm expression and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know about other people, but the young lady of their Chu family has always been rational and sober. She knew that the man was not easy to mess with, and she would definitely not mess with him again. However, it takes such a powerful man to be worthy of me. The more Chu Yan listened to the complaints of the thugs, the more satisfied she felt in her heart, and she smiled seductively. The man in the suit, looking at the determination in the eyes of the young lady of the Chu family, he suddenly had a bad premonition. Chu Yan pondered for a while, then suddenly raised her head and said, "I underestimated them before. I didn't expect that the third young master of the Fu family would play the game so hard. Next time you make a move, let the elites of our group go out. I don't believe that we can't do anything to them." The man in the suit took a breath of cold air, and his heart was full of resistance. Everyone gradually understood the magic of the ancient game. The group now works in the game. Many high-level levels have reached more than 60, and they are ranked high in the entire game. Let these people cause trouble for the man and woman. If they succeed, it's fine. If they fail, after being defeated, they will be demoted, and everyone will be in great pain. "Miss, this is not appropriate," he stammered, trying to persuade the young lady of the Chu family. The sweat on his forehead became more and more dense. "What if we can't win?" Chu Yan smiled coldly. "Why? Except for the first and second place on the list who broke through level 70, no one else has reached level 70. All the players in the server know it. You don't know it, right? This kid is just timid. I really don't know why he is still the first assistant of the group. He doesn't even dare to do such a sure win." After a lot of coercion and inducement, the man in the suit received the request from his boss to listen to her orders, and he was helpless. Miss Chu is the only girl of this generation of the Chu family, and she is very spoiled. Let alone she just wants to cause trouble for others. Even if she wants to pick the stars in the sky, the Chu family will not frown. He reluctantly came to the group and conveyed Miss Chu's order. After making sure that everyone in the company had received the order, Miss Chu raised her head and snorted softly. Remembered to teach that woman a lesson and let her know that some men are not for her to touch. On the other side, Shen-san was inviting Yunxi to go boating with him by the lake, but suddenly he heard the beeping sound of the system. He frowned. This sound meant that someone outside the game was calling him. But his relatives and friends were busy now, so how could they have time to come to him? Seeing his eyes move slightly, Yunxi immediately guessed that something must have happened in the real world. So he said, "Shen-san, if you are tired, go and rest. I will rest here for a few days first. We can play together after we have rested." Shen-san nodded and exited the game. Looking at Shen-san, who turned into a white light and went offline, Yunxi lowered his eyes, covering up the loneliness that flashed across his eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116: The Patriarch of the Zhu Family. After watching Shen-san disappear into a white light, Yunxi was in a daze for a while. It was not until night fell that she finally came back to her senses. During this period of time, the apprentice accompanied her almost every day, and she almost forgot that she was an NPC, and he was a person in the real world. She was really confused. She shook her head helplessly, sat down by the lake, and looked at the happy fish in the lake. Her depressed mood gradually improved a lot. Just then the wind blew gently, and there was a rustling sound behind her. Yunxi seemed to have not heard the movement behind her at all. There was still a gentle smile on the corner of her mouth, and her fingertips occasionally touched the fish in the water. Bang! The sudden loud noise broke the tranquility of the night. After a burst of thick smoke, a huge deep pit appeared where Yunxi had just sat. Silence. Strange silence. The whole space was no longer any sound except the sound of cicadas and birds. About 5 minutes later, a group of people in the bushes looked towards the deep pit for a long time, but they didn't see anyone in the deep pit, so they walked out one after another. The group of people wore the same style of clothes, and their expressions were also the same in difference. After circling the deep pit for a long time, no one found Yunxi. She should have been dealt with by us, right? One of the young men frowned and looked at his boss in confusion. The lady just asked us to teach her a lesson. Have we accomplished the task? For a moment, everyone looked at each other, and there was a trace of confusion in their eyes. According to Miss Chu, they had to teach that woman a lesson so that she would not dare to approach the young master of the Fu family again, but who would have thought that the woman would be dealt with by them in an instant? She is probably at the rebirth point now. They don't know where the woman's rebirth point is. They just let her drop a level. I'm afraid Miss Chu will not be satisfied with such a lesson. The group of people looked at each other and seemed to have reached some agreement in an instant. Yunxi, who was about to jump down from the tree, paused for a moment, and sat quietly on a thick branch, watching one of the men turn on the communicator. Although he had heard that players could call their real-world friends directly in the game, this was the first time he saw such a scene in person. "Miss, we have already taught her a lesson, and her level has also been reduced by 1 level. I wonder if you are satisfied." The man's voice was full of flattery and fawning. Because it was broadcasted, Yunxi could hear it clearly. However, before the man finished speaking, a voice that was suppressed with anger sounded on the other side of the communicator. "Get out. I created an opportunity for you, but in the end I only reduced the level of the person. Are you all eating for free?" Along with the woman's sharp voice, there was a crackling sound of something breaking. The voices of several men were full of flattery and fawning, and what was completely different from their voices was their expressions at this time. Everyone's face was very cold. Yunxi slowly raised the corners of her lips and walked out of the woods. "It's me, the one you want to kill." She was wearing a dark blue dress that fluttered in the night wind, looking very ostentatious. A group of men frowned immediately, and they were extremely alert, with their weapons ready to go. In the quiet night, the sound of weapons colliding rang out one after another. Yunxi shuttled through the crowd, and the knife flashed coldly in the night. This group of men seemed to be the leaders of some group. Not long after they were defeated, another large group of people rushed towards her one after another. Even though Yunxi was extremely strong, but ants can kill elephants in large numbers, and with a large number of people. Well, she was not injured, but it took some time. She actually fought for a whole day before finally getting rid of all these people. What the hell is going on? Are you all crazy? When everyone was stuck at level 69, you all dropped a level. Did you find some great treasure and get beaten to death by the guy guarding it? The head of the Zhu family was shocked and angry when he saw that all the employees of the group had been demoted by 1 level. If it was just 1 or 2 people, it would be fine, but everyone in the group had been demoted. He had only been on a business trip for 2 days. Now almost all the companies and schools outside have moved to the game. Who doesn't know that level and combat power are very important here? What the hell are they doing? Several supervisors of the group were also troubled. Miss, a woman, we have no way. They used a one-time big move that they accidentally got at the beginning, but who knew that they didn't kill the woman, but each of them was beaten up. Those of them who dropped a level were still okay, and there were actually people who persisted in rushing up. Those of them who dropped several levels, that was really heartbreaking. The head of the Jiu family was furious when he heard it. The only young lady of the Jiu family had a very ordinary relationship with him, and their blood relationship had been separated by 3 generations, so he was very dissatisfied with this young lady Jiu who caused trouble for him. She told you to cause trouble for someone, didn't you know to investigate beforehand? She told you to eat shit, will you eat it? He was so angry at these people that he started to speak without thinking. After severely reprimanding his subordinates and ordering them not to listen to Qiu Yan's orders again, the head of the Jiu family turned on the communicator. Qiu Yan, do you know that our entire group has been downgraded? Thanks to you, do you know how much our group will lose during this period? You made such a big mistake, don't even think about your pocket money for the next 6 months, he angrily sprayed at the other party. I don't care who you like, just don't cause trouble for me. If you mess with someone you can't afford to mess with, you should apologize to me in person until others forgive you. Qiu Yan was stunned by the sudden scolding. Although the head of the Jiu family was not familiar with her, he was usually polite to her. When had he ever been so fierce? When the head of the Jiu family hung up the communication angrily, her legs softened and she fell to the ground. Picking up her high heels, she slammed them hard on the floor. Damn. Damn. She was just an ordinary woman, but the head of the family was unwilling to help her. And didn't the people from the group say that it was easy to defeat that woman? Did they lie to her? Qiu Yan vented her anger and came to the group headquarters angrily, ready to go in and settle accounts with someone. However, before she entered the door, she was stopped outside. Sorry, Miss Qiu, the head of the family has ordered that you can no longer enter all the properties under the name of the Jiu family. The guard robot spoke in a flat tone, but Qiu Yan seemed to see mockery in its mechanical eyes, and she felt very depressed. In order to recover her pocket money as soon as possible, she had to lower her head and walk away angrily. However, no one noticed that her knuckles were clenched white, and a strong hatred in her eyes. The head of the Jiu family. What head of the Jiu family? When she marries a powerful man, she wants to see how the head of the Jiu family kneels on the ground and begs her to forgive him. And that bitch, she will never let her go. Qiu Yan's lower lip was bitten and bleeding, but she seemed to feel no pain at all, and left the door of Jiu group with an expressionless face. Chapter 117 Candlelight Dinner. Fu Jinheng was speechless and turned to leave. Wait, the woman behind him grabbed his arm and refused to let go. Third brother, just go and meet her. If you don't get to know girls, how can you find a wife in the future? Mom, don't worry about it. He was about to go on a date with his master, but he was called out just for this? It was really a waste of his expression. Mrs. Fu was helpless. I'm worried about you because you're still single. And Miss Chu cares about you too. They're 4 sons, except for the youngest who is still in school. The other 3 are all single dogs. Year after year passed, and none of the 3 of them wanted to find a girlfriend, which was too worrying for her. Originally, she just wanted to go out and play with her husband and didn't want to interfere in her son's affairs, but she was afraid that if this continued, the 3 sons would be single for the rest of their lives, so she had to start blind dates for her sons. However, Fu Jinheng declined her kindness. Mom, I already have a girl I like. You should find one for my eldest brother and the others. He was worried that she would come to bother him again, so he simply stopped her from thinking. What? Where? When will you bring her back for me? Mrs. Fu looked excited, but then she changed her mind and became a little suspicious. You are not lying to me, are you? If your son has a girl he likes, how come she doesn't know anything about it? Most likely he is trying to avoid blind dates. I'm not lying to you, it's true, but she doesn't know I like her yet. Fu Jinheng lowered his voice and pretended not to care. Mrs. Fu was surprised to see his reddened ears, and immediately became interested. Whose girl is she? Do I know her? It was the first time that the third child blushed. Could she be a domineering girl? Forgive her for not being able to imagine how her sons would get along with girls. Fu Jinheng didn't really want to share his master's affairs with others. This was a secret between them. It's nothing. We are quite familiar with each other. We just haven't confessed our feelings yet. She will be with me soon, he said stubbornly. Mrs. Fu was just there to watch the show, but she was shocked when she heard this. The third brother is still stubborn, and it seems that he still has a long way to go in his relationship. Fortunately, the third brother is still young, so there is no need to rush. The eldest brother and his friends have to hurry up. Mom, where do you like to go on dates? Date? Mrs. Fu was suddenly interrupted, and she was stunned for a moment. Go. Everyone likes different places. It's better for you to ask the girl. Generally speaking, you can take a quiet person to the library, and a cheerful person to the amusement park. After listening to her advice, Fu Jinheng fell into deep thought. A few days later, the Shamit who happened to be visiting saw that he was not playing games, and immediately came over to say hello. Brother Fu, the amusement park. Shamit was halfway through his words when he saw the notebook where Fu Jinheng was taking notes, and he couldn't help but pause. He leaned over to take a closer look and couldn't help laughing. Brother Fu, you don't really believe these nonsense, do you? When it comes to pursuing people, you still have to let me, a practical expert, do it. If you listen to the opinions of those who only know a little bit of theory, you won't succeed. Shamit shook his head smugly. Although Shamit has been hurt in love recently, he did know a lot about these things in the past. There were a lot of women pursuing him, but he himself was not interested. But when it comes to being pursued, he is really rich in experience. Brother Fu, do you know when is the best time to improve your favorability? Shamit smiled mysteriously. It's a candlelight dinner? Yunxi looked at the extremely beautiful invitation in her hand and raised her eyebrows. Looking at Shen San's back as he walked away, she returned to the room, locked the door, and carefully opened the invitation. The material of the invitation is not paper, but a frosted texture. It doesn't feel rough to the touch, but feels comfortable. If you get close, you can smell a faint fragrance. But getting an invitation, a beautiful invitation, is not a strange thing. The strange thing is that this thing was given to her by her apprentice. When she got the invitation, she was stunned. Why can't the apprentice say it directly? She still needs to be sent an invitation. Is this the sense of ritual that life needs? Sincerely invite the most beautiful and charming Ms. Yunxi to gather in my room at 3:15 tomorrow at the hour of you. I will present you with the most carefully prepared food. Stay tuned, Chen Sen. In other words, let her go for dinner tomorrow. Yunxi secretly calculated the date. Strange. Tomorrow is neither her birthday nor the anniversary of their apprenticeship. Why did he suddenly do this? However, since he said that she was looking forward to it, he must have made delicious food. With a little expectation, time quickly came to the hour of you the next day. At this time, it was already a little dark outside. In Shen San's room, he covered the table of the inn with a beige tablecloth embroidered with lace. There was a vase on the table with a few fragrant flowers. The tableware was white porcelain with blue patterns. At first glance, it looked like French afternoon tea. However, there were 2 white candles lit by the table, which looked a bit ghostly in the dark room. Even Yunxi, who was strong, felt a little creepy when she saw such a scene in the underworld. Master, you are here, sit down quickly. Shen San took her to sit down and personally pulled out a chair for her. She sat down slowly, with no emotion on her face, but she was thinking in her heart, did I have a conflict with my apprentice these days? That's why he wanted to torment her like this. Lighting a white candle. It felt like being in a morning hall. Master, these dishes are all your favorites. See how they are cooked? Shen San asked her to try them quickly, otherwise they would be unpalatable when they got cold. Yunxi felt like drinking some water to calm down. However, as soon as she took a bite, she found that today's dishes were well cooked, with good color, fragrance and taste, which was the ultimate of his cooking skills. It seems that the apprentice did not want to trick her, but sincerely arranged the environment like this. While happily tasting the complex dishes specially made by the apprentice, she secretly worried about his aesthetics. With his level, how can he find a girlfriend in the future? Is he going to invite his girlfriend to have dinner in a place decorated like this? Yunxi secretly sympathized with his future girlfriend for a few seconds, but soon stopped caring about it. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings, and apprentices have their own blessings. On the other side of the table, Shen San saw that the master was eating with relish and nodding from time to time, and his nervous heart was immediately relieved. The master was very satisfied with this date. There was no accident like before. It seems that this idea is really useful. If I invite the master to a candlelight dinner a few more times, the confession should be successful. The two had different thoughts, but they were both very happy. Chu Yan counted the money in all her accounts and gritted her teeth secretly. When she thought that she would not get any pocket money for the next 6 months, and she would have to spend money to find someone to do things, she felt so angry that her teeth itched. She hoped that the people in the game would have some skills and could help get rid of that woman, and not be like those rubbish in the group, who couldn't even cause trouble for an ordinary person. After leaving enough money for her to live for half a year, she threw all the remaining money into the game. Chu Yan spent a lot of money at the NPC recruitment office to hire several skilled mercenaries, and then posted the task of killing Lu Yunxi in the task hall. Because all the top masters were hired, the hiring fee was also high. After inviting people, she had little money left, so she stopped recruiting people. It's this woman. As long as you kill her, the money will be credited immediately. Pointing to the photo that she had spent a lot of money to find an intelligence organization, her tone was very cold. Watching the hired people put on their equipment and leave, she nodded with satisfaction. The big guys on the leaderboard and several combat NPCs were hunting together. She didn't believe that the woman could still survive in this situation. Thinking of the woman crying and begging for mercy, she slowly raised the corners of her lips. After thinking for a while, in order to ensure success, she added, "If you can kill her to level 1, the previous mercenary money will be doubled." The mercenaries and combat players immediately became alert, and their eyes lit up. Chapter 118, Run Away. Lu Yunxi was a little confused. Take her to get married. Chu Yan nodded, with a sympathetic look in her eyes. This is actually the land of women. You may not know the customs here. That it may have mistaken you for a man. She took you back because she probably wants you to marry her daughter or niece or something. What? This is the custom in all the land of women. If you see a man you like on the street, you take him home. Chu Yan patted her shoulder sympathetically. You'd better run away early. If you say you are actually a woman, that aunt will probably be very angry and may even beat you up. Lu Yunxi thought of Aunt Jo, who was extremely enthusiastic about her, and her eyes twitched. I know, thank you for telling me this news, she smiled. I will explain it to Aunt Jo. Chu Yan didn't expect that she was so stubborn that she actually had to explain it to others. She had fought all the way to the land of women before. After arriving here, she was covered in dust and dirt, and she was very tall, so she was mistaken for a man and was taken back. And after knowing that she was actually a woman. Ahem. Chu Yan couldn't bear to recall the pain at that time, and wanted to dissuade Miss Lu, but she saw that she looked determined. She was a little helpless. Forget it. She will go to talk to that aunt with Miss Lu later. If that aunt wants to hit Miss Lu, she will help to block it. After all, her skills are not bad, and she thinks she can protect the weak Miss Lu. Do it as soon as she says it. Thinking that Aunt Jo treats her so well because she treats her as a son-in-law, she is naturally embarrassed to continue living here. She changed her clothes, returned to women's clothes, and knocked on the door of Aunt Jo's room. You are. Aunt Jo opened the door with a smile. When she saw her dress, she was stunned for a moment until she heard a familiar voice. Aunt Jo, my friend is here to see me. She has been dressing like a man for safety reasons, but she doesn't need to dress like a man anymore. She will protect me. Lu Yunxi smiled and handed the purse in her hand to Aunt Jo with both hands. Thank you for treating me to dinner. Aunt Jo took the purse in a daze and watched the two walk away. That's right. The girl always spoke softly. Why didn't she doubt it? Looking at the silver ingots in the purse, Aunt Jo slapped her thigh and chased after her, shouting, Girl, you gave too much. Lu Yunxi waved at her, and, keep it, and thank you very much. The dinner Aunt Jo gave was indeed a big meal, enough for an average family to have a full meal for several months. Chu Yan was stunned. She thought they would fight. She was beaten and broke again before. Damn it, Yunxi, just sit there, I'll row the boat. Chu Yan stopped Lu Yunxi's hand from taking the oar and shook her head repeatedly. Yunxi is so weak, how can she do such physical work? Just give it to her. Lu Yunxi paused and laughed. I don't know how. In just a few days, she changed from Miss Lu to Yunxi. And Chu Yan seemed to have a very strange filter for her. When they were playing together these days, Chu Yan always tried her best to stop her from working, and just let her sit and enjoy the scenery. But Chu Yan was very stubborn. No matter how she said that she was very strong, she just didn't believe it, and always perfunctorily said, Okay, Miss Lu is the strongest. Lu Yunxi sat on the boat helplessly, looking at the lotus in the lake. The two people's boat passed through the emerald green lotus leaves and rowed all the way to the center of the lake. Yunxi, this lake is amazing. Do you see a small opening over there? Jiu Yan pointed to a narrow waterway not far away and introduced the scenery here to her. This lake is gourd-shaped. They are at the bottom of the gourd, and a waterfall is formed at the opening of the gourd. Therefore, everyone's boats are only at the bottom of the gourd, and they will not go near the opening of the gourd. Lu Yunxi also found it very strange. Generally speaking, to form a waterfall, there must be enough momentum. The edge of the gourd is quiet and surrounded, but a waterfall can be formed at the opening of the gourd. Is it really a game world? No matter how much it looks like the real world, there are still some fantasy places. Let's put away the boat later and go down to eat at noon while looking at the waterfall, Jiu Yan suggested with a smile on her face. Many people like to eat there. It is said that the scenery is particularly good. Lu Yunxi didn't care and nodded. However, at this moment, a faint smell permeated the nose. She raised her eyebrows imperceptibly, and a strange light flashed in her eyes. Who used soft tendon powder in the lake? Although the smell was blocked by the water and lotus, she was a master pharmacist after all, so she would not be unable to detect it. She casually poured a glass of water from her backpack, dissolved the antidote for the muscle softener, drank it herself, and poured a glass for Chu Yan. Chu Yan, drink some water. She handed the cup to her. Chu Yan was indeed a little tired from paddling. She wiped the sweat off her face, and when she saw Lu Yunxi noticed that she needed water, her heart softened. Yunxi was indeed beautiful and kind, the most beautiful girl in the world. Thank you. However, before she could take the cup of water, the boat suddenly shook violently. Chu Yan was startled. Fearing that Lu Yunxi could not sit steadily, Jiu Yan did not bother to take the cup of water, but knelt down and put one hand around her waist and the other hand on the edge of the boat to stabilize her body. Lu Yunxi raised her head suddenly, and saw a large group of people coming out not far away, attacking them non-stop. It was really a large group of people. At this moment, the lake was surrounded by dense crowds, and dozens of boats began to paddle in their direction. Lu Yunxi raised her eyebrows, looked at the group of people, and secretly guessed that they were coming for her? Or are they coming for Chu Yan? Soon, she noticed that these people's eyes were focused on a small boat next to them. She understood. They were implicated. Chu Yan was very upset. Their good fun was ruined. The people on the opposite side didn't care about their thoughts. The long-range attacks started shooting arrows without hesitation, and the melee people also picked up their weapons, as if they were going to jump onto their boat. Chu Yan immediately blocked Lu Yunxi behind her, faced the people who surrounded her, and smiled coldly. It's just a group of minions, Yunxi, don't be afraid, I'll deal with them. However, just as she was about to pick up her weapon, Jiu Yan found something wrong. She couldn't even lift her weapon. After staying in the game for so long, she was already very familiar with how to use her own weapon. It's impossible that she couldn't lift it. But things are so strange. Chu Yan's face changed, and she immediately became suspicious. You actually drugged me. Despicable. Thinking of this, she immediately became nervous. Lu Yunxi smiled and reminded her, Jiu Yan, I found that they don't seem to be coming for us, but for the next boat. Sure enough, when the boats were halfway close, they did not come closer, but surrounded the boat next door. Lu Yunxi wanted to avoid their fight, so she picked up the oar and started rowing, saying, by the way, Jiu Yan, there is an antidote for the soft muscle powder in the cup I just gave you, drink it quickly. However, as soon as she finished speaking, the surrounded person suddenly rushed towards them. There was also someone in charge of the crowd who were in charge of the encirclement. They all took out something unknown and threw it in their direction. Lu Yunxi frowned and rowed faster. However, the surrounded person was relentless, as if he was determined to divert the trouble, and followed them closely. Get away. Jiu Yan drank the water, but the effect of the medicine was not so fast. She was so angry that she could only shout at the man. However, bang bang bang, the huge explosion set off waves, and the sound was deafening. The group of people who surrounded them remained calm, not caring about the lives of these innocent people at all, and kept throwing gunpowder at them. Even Lu Yunxi was speechless. Although this thing could not hurt her, the power of gunpowder was too great, and their boat had begun to leak. I don't know how much compensation I have to pay. This boat was not her own flower boat, but rented from a fisherman. Lu Yunxi paddled, thinking about whether to build a boat herself to compensate the fisherman. After all, the fisherman didn't use the boat today because he was going out to play with his family, and he would use the boat tomorrow. Seeing her frown, Jiuyan thought she was scared, so she hurriedly said, Yunxi, run away quickly, don't worry about me, I'm fine. This article has been overhauled, not because of a problem with the plot. There are no changes in the previous article for the time being, so you may have to wait. Chapter 119 Drop. Jiuyan tried her best to keep smiling, but her tone was full of impatience, repeatedly urging her to leave quickly. Don't worry, I know my limits. Yunxi was somewhat helpless. She was much stronger than Jiuyan, and the explosion would not hurt her at all, so how could she escape at this time? Wait. Suddenly her eyes lit up. The target of this group of people was the person next door. If she kicked that person away, Jiuyan should be safer. Thinking of this, she put a protective shield on Jiuyan, and also protected the slightly leaking boat, and then left. Jiuyan, you stay here, it's safe here, I'll deal with them first. After Yunxi finished speaking, she jumped onto the large lotus leaves, her toes quickly passing by. Leaving the center of the thick smoke, Yunxi, who was wearing a gauze skirt, quickly locked onto the troublemaker. She jumped up and slashed at the person with a palm. However, the eyes of the people surrounding them lit up. Just after Yunxi kicked the person away, the people surrounding them also fired countless shells. Once the shells were fired, they could not be retrieved. Yunxi's pupils trembled, and he wanted to dodge quickly. However, the shells were as dense as raindrops. Danger! With Jiuyan's heartbreaking screams, Yunxi accidentally stepped on the air and fell into the waterfall. Jiuyan saw Yunxi fall into the waterfall without paying attention, and her eyes were bloodshot. Yunxi, oh no, she actually fell down. The people who surrounded her saw this scene and suddenly spoke up. Why do you care about her? Who told her to be unlucky and have to come to play today? Let's go. The mission target has not been solved yet. Jiuyan listened to their communication without paying attention to others, gritted her teeth secretly, and clenched her fists tightly. Damn. Yunxi is not a player at all, but an NPC. The NPCs in Ancient are really dead when they die, and they will never be resurrected. A few days ago, when Yunxi saved her, she secretly swore that she must protect her. But thinking of this group of people who didn't care about the lives of NPCs, a trace of hatred flashed in Jiuyan's eyes, and the strength that had disappeared for a long time gradually recovered. You deserve to die. Jiuyan raised her head, her eyes were scarlet, like a demon from hell, looking very scary. At this time, the group of people didn't notice her changes at all, and didn't know that their troubles were coming. Until is this guy crazy? Why does she want to kill us? Isn't she afraid of being red-named, looking for death? I was injured at the beginning, just because I was not prepared. Quick, kill her. There are so many of us, I don't believe we can't beat one person. Jiuyan was covered in blood, her own wounds, the opponent's wounds. She didn't know whose blood it was. She only knew that she wanted to avenge Yunxi. Many people turned into white light and returned to the rebirth point, but Jiuyan was only one person after all, and her physical strength was limited. Gradually, she couldn't hold on. Before turning into white light, tears slid down her eyes. She didn't do what she promised. This is the first time. Damn it. She really was so unwilling to accept it. Yunxi sat on the grass with a very subtle expression. It was really unexpected that she, who was already at the master level, would accidentally step on the wrong foot and fall down. Just now, if she hadn't stepped on the air, she wouldn't have fallen down. Well, actually, walking with a wrong step has nothing to do with what level you are at. She stretched her body and looked up at the waterfall that was almost invisible, with a strange expression. Originally, according to her current level of Qingguang, she could just step on the rocks of the waterfall to get up. But there was no one-way air wall or something here. There was no obstruction when she fell down, but every time she tried to climb up, she was blocked by a transparent wall. She had actually tried 5 times just now, but she still couldn't find the reason why she was blocked. Yunxi decided to try again. If she couldn't succeed this time, she would try another way. She hurriedly picked all the strange plants around her, put them on her body, and tried to jump up. Maybe it was because she was missing something that she couldn't get up? However, this time she still failed. She looked around helplessly and decided to follow the flow of the waterfall. There are always people near the water. However, half an hour later, she looked at the familiar waterfall in front of her and fell into deep thought. It was the 3rd time that she had walked in one direction, but ended up walking back to the same place. Lu Yunxi simply sat down cross-legged, turned on the system, and tried to find clues from it. And just when she was trapped in this strange place, on the other side, Jiu Yan also returned to the real world. She squatted down with herself in her arms, a little powerless. Maybe others would find it ridiculous, but she sincerely regarded Lu Yunxi as a friend. After becoming the young lady of the Jiu family, there were almost no sincere people around her. Every time she went out to communicate with people, she always had to repeatedly analyze the other person's behavior, tone, and purpose. On the contrary, in the game, she truly felt Lu Yunxi's gentleness. When he saved her a few days ago, Lu Yunxi didn't do it for anything. He just saw it and saved her. She accidentally got poison in her heart, and she needed a universal detoxification pill to get rid of it. Yunxi is a life NPC, how difficult it is to get such a medicine. But she gave it to herself without hesitation. Obviously, at that time, they were just strangers who had met twice. Tears fell. No. She couldn't be so decadent. Maybe Yunxi was still alive? Maybe Yunxi was seriously injured and needed to be saved by herself? She wiped her tears, her eyes became firm, and she returned to the game again. Lu Yunxi spent a few days walking through the entire ghost-like space, recording the changes in the map in different time periods, and finally found a small wooden house. There was only a white-haired old man in the small wooden house. Looking at the conspicuous LV-10 on the old man's head, her expression was a little subtle. When she first saw the person, her eyes lit up, guessing that she should defeat the owner here to get out. But think about it from another angle. If she was only level 10, she would not be so desperate to block others in her territory. Isn't this asking for a fight? The old man was also very surprised to see her. He invited her to come in and sit down with a warm face, and even boiled tea for her. "Girl, please sit down. I haven't seen anyone here for many years." The old man looked at her with nostalgia in his eyes. Lu Yunxi paused, took the tea, and was surprised to find that the tea produced by this plain-looking old man was actually of orange quality. This was the first time she had seen someone who had practiced tea art to this level. "Master, the tea you make is really good." She couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. "Is he really a hidden master?" The old man smiled, but there was a hint of bitterness in his eyes. She was a little surprised, but also a little impressed. Does this old man have such high requirements for himself? Is he not satisfied with a master-level tea art? If it were someone outside, no matter what skill he had, he would be very happy if he could achieve advanced level, let alone master level. However, perhaps it was because of his unwillingness to lag behind that he was able to break through to the master level. Lu Yunxi thought for a while and got straight to the point. "Old man, do you know how to get out of here?" Upon hearing this, the old man shook his head and sighed. It turned out that the old man fell from the waterfall just like Lu Yunxi. No matter who falls from this waterfall, their lives will not be in danger, but they will be trapped here. To leave here, unless you can learn a certain skill to the extreme and break through to the Grandmaster level, you can leave. A Grandmaster can only take one person out. The old man has been trapped here for decades, but because his tea art has been hovering at the master level, he has never successfully broken through. After hearing this, Lu Yunxi's heart skipped a beat. That's not right. But my cooking skills are already at the Grandmaster level. Why can't I get out? Could it be that the conditions for getting out have changed in the past few decades, but the old man has been busy studying the tea ceremony, so he didn't notice it? The old man looked at her sympathetically and shook his head. It's useless to learn the Grandmaster level skills before falling off the waterfall. Only here, if you improve a skill that has not reached the Grandmaster level to the Grandmaster level, you can leave. Chapter 120. Another person fell down. After hearing what the old man said, Lu Yunxi's expression suddenly turned bad. The pills used to break through skills have been eaten up, and there are no medicinal materials that can make such pills. If you want to brush your skills to the master level by yourself, it is not easy. With a last bit of hope, she asked again, if it is to raise the level of martial arts to the master level, will it work? It can be. But to be honest, this is much more difficult than improving skills. Among the people I have seen, no one has ever successfully practiced martial arts to the master level. The old man hesitated, as if he wanted to persuade her, but in the end he just sighed and encouraged her. But maybe you can create a miracle. Lu Yunxi pretended not to see his distrustful eyes and smiled and nodded. A few days later, not far from the cabin where the old man lived, a simple but sturdy cabin was built. Every day, Except when she practiced various life skills, she stayed in the underground dungeon. This was the only place she had found to swipe monsters. There are a total of 87 monsters in this dungeon, from level 1 to level 87, rising one level at a time. She suspected that the monsters here depend on the level of the person entering. She is level 87, so there are 87 monsters. So, is there 50 monsters at level 50? While Yunxi was busy killing monsters, above the waterfall, Qian looked at the carrier pigeon that had been circling around her, and her heart sank. The letter written to Yunxi could not be sent out. In this case, either the other party is gone, or the other party is in a special mission or dungeon. She couldn't believe that Yunxi was gone. When being besieged by artillery shells, Yunxi was not as seriously injured as she was. Qian repeatedly recalled the scene at that time and tried to find some clues. However, she stood by the lake to check for a while, and then ran from the mountain road to the bottom of the waterfall. After searching for a few days, she still couldn't find Yunxi. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, a week has passed. Qian still has no progress. She stood by the waterfall, wandering for a long time, until the evening when she returned to the town to replenish supplies, stuffed her backpack full, and then swam across the gourd-shaped lake. When she swam to the mouth of the gourd, she took a deep breath and jumped in without hesitation. Yunxi risked his life to lead people away in order to save her, so how could she give up at this time? The moment she jumped off the waterfall, Jiuyan prayed secretly, "Don't fall back to the rebirth point." Yunxi spent some time to complete another copy. When she wiped her sweat and walked home, she saw a person lying on the ground under the waterfall from a distance. Was it a new person who fell down? She was a little surprised. According to the old man in the wooden house, no one had fallen down for many years. I just don't know if the one who fell down was a player or an NPC. If it was a player, it would be interesting. At present, on the ranking list, except for her, only the apprentice's level has reached the master level, and no one has broken through to the master level in life skills. It will take a long time for these players to leave. She walked over curiously. However, when she walked to the person, her face suddenly changed. It was Jiuyan. She had no wounds on her body. She did not fall down when she was affected by the battle before. But she suddenly fell down after so many days. Yunxi held her forehead. She did not expect Jiuyan to jump down to find her. She carefully picked her up and brought her back to her simple wooden house. Is this the person who just fell down? The old man who had just returned from a walk was surprised to see this scene. It's a little girl? That's good, you will have a playmate soon. Yunxi smiled and said, "It's my friend, and she probably came down to find me." She was not being sentimental. In fact, Jiuyan is such a person. She repays kindness with kindness and revenges with hatred, and she values friendship very much. Originally, when she met Jiuyan in the Kingdom of Daughters, they chatted together and then separated. But a few days later, when she passed by, she accidentally discovered that Jiuyan was poisoned. After detoxifying her, this guy stuck to her like a sticky candy. He also kept nagging about protecting her every day. The old man sighed when he heard this, and he dug out some herbs from home and sent them over. After thanking the old man for his kindness, Yunxi returned home. She closed her eyes, fumbled with difficulty to change Jiuyan's clothes, and then got a new set of bedding before leaving the room. She had checked it. Just as the old man said, the person who fell down was not only not in danger of life, but also not injured, but would just sleep for a few days. 2 days later, Qian, who was trapped in the darkness, was finally able to open her eyes. She blinked, and her blurred vision gradually became clear. At this time, she was lying on a simple wooden bed. The wooden board seemed to be just casually placed on the bed frame. Some places were not flattened, and the protrusions on the back were a bit uncomfortable. She supported her body and sat up and looked around. In the whole room, except for this simple wooden bed, there were only 2 chairs and a table, and no other furniture. The table and chairs were well polished, smooth and round. She sat in the room for a while, but no one brought her back. Qian thought for a while, and then she thought of Yunxi, who was somewhere unknown, and she got up and left the cabin. Behind the cabin, a stream meandered by, and not far away, there was another cabin that looked old but better looking. Qian paused, and was about to knock on the door of the cabin to ask, but when she turned around, she saw a familiar figure by the stream. Yunxi, She walked up to him in surprise and joy. "Qian, are you awake?" Yunxi couldn't help but smile when he saw her coming, wiped his hands, and put the back of his hand on her forehead to probe. "Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere?" "I'm fine. I made you worry." Seeing the worry in her eyes, Qian felt a little embarrassed. Yunxi was relieved when he confirmed that she had fully recovered, and at the same time, his anger rose again. She sneered, "You still know that I would worry? Do you know how dangerous it is to jump off a waterfall? If you weren't lucky, I might have to collect your body by now." This was of course a lie. She was just worried that this guy would always be so reckless in the future. This waterfall is indeed safe, but it is just a coincidence. What if there is any danger here? Qian looked at her mumbling and felt a little guilty, but soon she couldn't help laughing and hugged her tightly with open arms. "Yunxi, I'm sorry, I clearly promised to protect you. But I didn't do it." Yunxi, who was suddenly hugged, was stunned for a moment. Feeling the crying voice in her ear, she reached out and patted Qian's back gently. Yunxi was a little helpless. It seems that Qian has been tortured by guilt during this period. Some people don't take the agreement to heart, but Qian is a person with a strong sense of responsibility. Just when Qian was crying bitterly, "This is Miss Lu, your friend is awake." The old man who came back from a walk saw the two standing by the stream, so he came up and said, "Hello, now that you have a friend to help you, you don't have to be so busy." To be honest, although he has been trapped here for decades, he has never seen someone like Miss Lu, who is really practicing skills without taking a break during the day and night, and only sleeps for 2 hours when he can't hold on. For example, he only spends 3 hours a day practicing tea art, and the rest of the time is either spent exercising or relaxing nearby. Qian frowned when she heard this. "Good morning, old man. Is my friend very tired these days, isn't it?" The old man slapped his thigh and nodded repeatedly. "Even my companions who fell from the waterfall with me before, no one worked as hard as she did. Everyone ate and slept on time." Qian frowned, looked at Yunxi with a headache, and his face was full of worry. "Yunxi, is it true? Staying up late like this is very harmful to your body. You should take good care of your body." Hearing Qian's disapproving voice, Yunxi twitched his eyes. Things change. Just now, I told Qian to take her life to heart and not take risks casually. Now it's her turn to say it. The problem is, if she doesn't work so hard, who knows how long she will be trapped here. What if she is trapped here forever? Wouldn't it be like being in prison? Risking boldness and staying up late to work hard, is it easy for her? Chapter 121 Teaching. Qian talked to the old man for a long time, making him laugh. She also inquired about Yunxi's recent life before saying goodbye to him. After returning home, "Yunxi, is there something urgent that you need to leave here? If not, don't be so anxious to upgrade. Anyway, Grandpa also said that the environment here is very good, there is enough food and no danger." Qian was afraid that if this continued, Yunxi would die suddenly. Although I don't know if there is such a way to die in the holographic game, what if it happens? At this time, Yunxi didn't take this to heart and casually perfunctorily said a few words. She thought it was over. Until a few days later. Seeing Qian staring at her closely, Yunxi couldn't help but hold her forehead. In the past few days, Qian stared at her all the time as if she was staring at a prisoner. Once she found that she didn't eat and rest on time, she would immediately nag. She was scared. Qian didn't have a nagging personality before. Why did she change? Listening to the endless nagging in her ears, Yunxi interrupted her quickly. "Qian, don't worry, I was worried about you before, so I was anxious to practice skills and wanted to go out. Now that you're here, I don't have to worry anymore." In the next few days, as Yunxi said, they only went out to fight monsters or practice skills during the day. In the evening, the two would take a walk with the old man and go to bed at a certain time. Because Qian was there, Yunxi also made 2 new beds. The original bed took her more than 10 minutes to make. Except for the bed frame, which took some time, the other parts were just put together with some wooden boards. This time, they were more attentive. The two also cooperated to build a new house, a blue brick and tile house, with 2 living rooms, a kitchen and a bathroom, and a fence around the yard. Qian arranged it very carefully. In the yard alone, she built a grape rack, put a set of tables and chairs underneath, and built a swing on the tree next to it, so that people could have afternoon tea here in the afternoon. Inside the house, both of their rooms were covered with soft beige blankets. When you stepped on them, the soft fur was very comfortable. The bed was even carved with delicate patterns, and the tables and chairs were also covered with cushions. After Zhu Yan decorated her living environment like this, Lu Yunxi also became a little lazy and started to stay in bed. Yes, she did it on purpose. Before, she made a tattered bed, also to make herself feel more comfortable when she left the bed, and not to be obsessed with a bed. But now that she has returned to normal routine, she naturally wants to live more comfortably. Lu Yunxi also asked the old man if he wanted to help him build a new house, but he refused. So she repaired the cabin. Something is wrong. Lu Yunxi swore from her experience of watching various detective dramas that Zhu Yan was really a little strange. After all, they have been playing together for a while recently, and they know each other a little bit. Although Zhu Yan is a little squeamish sometimes, she is cautious and careful when she really does things, and she has never been a careless person. But, Yunxi, I forgot to bring a bath towel. Can you bring it for me? Her embarrassed voice came from the bathroom, and the sound of splashing water was clearly audible. Lu Yunxi. Yesterday, I suddenly forgot to bring a bath towel when I was halfway through the fire, and I forgot to bring an axe when I was chopping wood the day before yesterday. What will I forget tomorrow? She hugged her chest and stood for a while with a solemn face, then went to her room to get a bath towel for her. Thank you. As her somewhat hoarse voice came, a thin arm stretched out. Lu Yunxi couldn't help but pat her arm, and then put the bath towel in her hand. If you forget to bring a towel tomorrow, just walk out naked. Zhu Yan laughed softly and joked, okay, as long as you don't mind, I can come out right now. Lu Yunxi didn't expect her to be so shameless, and was a little speechless. However, when he noticed the bitterness in her voice, he couldn't help but sigh secretly. Zhu Yan has been too absent-minded these days, but there's nothing wrong with the game. She can't help with things outside. She shook her head. Since it involved the other party's private affairs, she didn't dare to ask too much. However, the next day, Zhu Yan got drunk and told the truth. It turned out that the Zhu family took Zhu Yan away, but no one liked her. The Zhu family felt that her marriage value was too low and wanted to expel her from the family. Anyway, Zhu Yan was originally adopted, but everyone concealed this matter in order to allow her to marry someone with a higher status. Zhu Yan's adoptive parents did want Zhu Yan to marry at the beginning, but after raising her for so long, they also had feelings for her and would not agree to kick Zhu Yan out of the family. Zhu Yan became confused these days because her adoptive parents were embarrassed by the Zhu family. She didn't want her adoptive parents to be embarrassed, but her adoptive parents' status in the Zhu family was average. But now, what should I do? Zhu Yan cried and looked particularly embarrassed. Lu Yunxi was also a little embarrassed after hearing what she said. To be honest, Zhu Yan is a very good person, whether in terms of how to treat people, how to manage the household, her knowledge and insights, or her appearance, dressing, martial arts and intelligence. She is excellent in all aspects. She can be said to be a model of all-round development of morality, intelligence, physical fitness and beauty. But these things are also possessed by the elites of the Zhu family, and Zhu Yan is not a true member of the Zhu family, so naturally she will not be reused. The possibility of improving the situation of her adoptive parents by letting Zhu Yan be reused is too low. Lu Yunxi opened the forum thoughtfully, trying to find a way from it. She hasn't been to the forum for a long time, but she didn't expect that this time she would discover a secret, shocking secret. The knowledge in the game is real. I helped an NPC in the game, and he taught me a way to make fish soup. I tried it in the real world and found that it was really delicious. Now I have opened a fish soup shop on our planet, specializing in fish soup, and now I have made a lot of money, thanks to Ancient. I didn't expect that the person I met in the game turned out to be a big shot in the real world, and invited me to a meal in a 5-star restaurant. Lu Yunxi searched about restaurants outside and found that someone had mentioned it. Restaurants in the interstellar world are very expensive, and it costs a lot of money to eat once. Chefs are a respected profession, and they are also very rare. Even if a family has a chef, the whole family will be proud of it. This sounds very strange. But for Lu Yunxi, it is a very beneficial thing. Her cooking skills have risen to the master level. If she teaches Zhu Yan how to cook, can Zhu Yan take a chef certificate in the real world? In this way, her adoptive parents will also be respected and honored because of her, and there is no need to worry about the Zhu family causing trouble. Zhu Yan, although I don't know what's bothering you recently, if you want to learn a skill, I can teach you. Lu Yunxi found that Chu Yan didn't remember what happened when she was drunk, and she was secretly happy. My cooking skills are pretty good, if you want to learn, come to me. After that, she left the room and let Chu Yan think about it alone. If it was before, Lu Yunxi would definitely not want to cause trouble for herself, but now no matter how much she wants to leave here, she can't rush, and she has already accepted an apprentice, so she has some experience in how to teach, and she also likes Chu Yan. For various reasons, she made this suggestion. Chu Yan went back and thought about it for 2 days, and under the witness of the old grandfather, she formally became Lu Yunxi's apprentice. From this day on, Lu Yunxi had another apprentice. In the interstellar world, chefs are divided into primary, intermediate, advanced and top levels. As long as Chu Yan passes the advanced certificate, the entire Chu family will change their attitude towards her. In order to let Chu Yan achieve this goal as soon as possible, Lu Yunxi studied the chef exam and then started teaching. Chu Yan, cut all these winter melons into pieces. She pointed to the winter melons next to her and watched from the side. Surprisingly, Chu Yan's knife skills were amazing, even faster and better than what Shen San had learned before. Lu Yunxi nodded secretly, with a smile on her lips. It seems that the second apprentice is more talented than the eldest apprentice. Chapter 122, Injured. Lu Yunxi was very satisfied with Chu Yan, her new apprentice. But soon, she couldn't laugh anymore. Chu Yan's knife skills were amazing, but when it came to cooking, help me, there were bursts of crackling sounds in the pot, and just hearing it was terrifying. Chu Yan, who was close to the pot, was so scared that her face turned pale. She waved the spatula in a panic, not knowing what to do. Lu Yunxi hurriedly said, "Don't be afraid, pour the vegetables into the pot and stir-fry them. Just now, there was a little cold water in the pot, and you poured oil into it, which is why it happened." Hearing her words, Chu Yan quickly poured a large basket of green vegetables into it. As expected, there was much less oil popping out. She was relieved immediately. After following the newly minted master to officially start cooking, Chu Yan fell into dire straits. It was really difficult. When the master was cooking, he liked to say words like appropriate amount, almost, feeling okay and so on. The question is, how much oil and salt is appropriate? How can you tell the difference between 50% and 70% hot oil? She can feel it as long as it's about the same. She can't feel any difference. Chu Yan had a terrible headache. This is much harder than doing experiments in the laboratory. No wonder the chef is so rare. She wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, and Lu Yunxi also felt very bad. When she taught Shen San before, except for the lack of experience at the beginning, everything went smoothly afterwards. She didn't even need to explain much. Except for some key points, she only needed to do it once, and Shen San would know 30%, and the rest he would go back to practice by himself. But although Chu Yan's martial arts and IQ are very good, her eyesight is really not good. Not only can she not tell the difference between durian and pineapple, she can't tell which part of the meat belongs to which part, and which type of dishes are suitable for cooking. She can't even tell the difference between raw pork and cooked pork. It's really terrible to not be able to tell the difference between raw and cooked meat. When she cooks, she can't figure out whether the dish is cooked or not. You tell her that the dish is cooked when it becomes soft, but she can't tell. You tell her that the dish is cooked when it changes color, but she still can't tell. Lu Yunxi felt a little depressed. In this situation, even though she was a master chef, she was a little helpless. It was not that she didn't teach carefully, it was really. When Lu Yunxi was worried, she heard Chu Yan's muttering. "It's been 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes when the master cooked just now. I have to shovel it up quickly." After saying that, she immediately took the clean plate and shoveled up all the dishes in the pot. Lu Yunxi. She looked down at the half-cooked dishes on the plate and felt a dull pain in her forehead. The fire was a little smaller this time. She stir-fried it with high heat last time. She sighed and watched the new apprentice hand the plate to her with sparkling eyes and looked at her expectantly. Lu Yunxi was a little helpless. She didn't even need to eat it to guess what it tasted like. There was no way. It seems that if you want Chu Yan to learn cooking, there's still a lot of work to do. She thought for a while, tasted the food, and said, "I've thought of how to teach you. Let's go and take a look around." Fortunately, the place under the waterfall is rich in products, whether it is various ingredients or medicinal materials, there are many. She decided to take her out personally, pick vegetables and turn this oil to study the ingredients. She didn't believe that this couldn't change Chu Yan's bad habits. Lu Yunxi's method really worked. It took nearly a month to finally bring Chu Yan out. Of course, the so-called bringing out is different from Shen San's bringing out. It can only be said that Chu Yan can now finally make some simple stir-fried dishes, such as stir-fried pork with green peppers, and can also tell whether they are cooked or not. After learning, the rest can only rely on repeated practice. Leaving her at home to practice cooking, Lu Yunxi started playing dungeons again. Of course, she said to Chu Yan that she needed to go out to feel the scenery so that she could get some inspiration after playing the dungeon. Lu Yunxi wiped the sweat from her head and walked all the way home. After repeatedly practicing skills, all skill experience points have been pushed to the top. However, so far, no matter whether it is advanced skills or master level skills, they are stuck and cannot be broken through. Only the attribute level is still rising. She can only pray silently that she will not be stuck when she reaches level 90. Otherwise, if she is stuck all the time, will she have to live here for the rest of her life? With a hint of anxiety, she hurriedly walked through the path she usually walked, but before she reached the waterfall, she heard a faint movement. She quickly tidied her clothes and walked over. Surprisingly, the person standing there was Chu Yan. Lu Yunxi was a little strange. Chu Yan was not practicing cooking at home, so what was she doing here? At this moment, Chu Yan suddenly bent down, took out 2 buckets from the package, filled 2 buckets of water, and walked back. Chu Yan, why did you come here to fetch water? Isn't there a stream next to your home, Master Yun? I heard that the water under the waterfall is much sweeter, so I took a detour to come here. Lu Yunxi watched the water from the waterfall flow down, winding away, and the stream formed was clear and winding. She was silent. What the hell is this? Isn't the stream in front of their house the water from this waterfall? As long as you are happy, Lu Yunxi laughed dryly, and finally did not dampen the excitement of her apprentice. The two walked home together. However, in the next second, Chu Yan may not have noticed and accidentally kicked a protruding stone. In addition, she was holding 2 buckets of water in her hands. She was afraid that the water would be poured out, but she let herself fall to the ground with a plop. Lu Yunxi was startled and did not react for a while. One of them knelt on the ground stupidly, and the other looked at it blankly. It took a long time to come back to his senses. Chu Yan, you're not hurt, are you? Seeing that she didn't get up for a long time, Lu Yunxi supported her with some concern. Chu Yan's injuries during training were much more serious than this. She waved her hand and said casually, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Following Lu Yunxi's strength, she slowly got up. However, before she got up, she stumbled again. With a series of clicks, her body stiffened and stopped in place. Lu Yunxi. Not good. She immediately felt her pulse and was shocked. Chu Yan actually broke her bones. Generally speaking, the elderly may break bones because of sneezing or falling, but for young people, this is too rare. Lu Yunxi supported her forward and used a blood recovery technique on Chu Yan first, and then observed the swollen area. Moving people in this situation may cause secondary trauma, so she had to deal with it first. At this time, Chu Yan had already fainted from the pain, and dense cold sweat slid down her forehead, and her face was pale. Lu Yunxi carefully checked Chu Yan's bones, and after breaking them with a click, she immediately packed her up. She looked at Chu Yan helplessly, secretly sympathizing with her. The new apprentice was so unlucky that he was injured so badly. Chu Yan not only had a broken hand, but also a broken foot and a broken waist. After being bandaged, she looked like a mummy. After fixing Chu Yan's body, Lu Yunxi got a stretcher and called the old man to help carry Chu Yan back. After thanking the old man, Lu Yunxi sat down a little tiredly, and then she realized that she was hungry. She looked around the house and soon found a few dishes on the table, which looked pretty good. She was too lazy to bother to cook, so she got some cold rice from the kitchen and prepared to eat it with the dishes. However, just as she was about to eat, the alarm in her heart sounded instantly. Lu Yunxi's eyes condensed. She looked around, and the bow in the space had been taken out. Whenever she encountered danger, she always felt like sounding the alarm. The arrows were ready to be shot. However, she turned around several times, but still did not find any danger. Lu Yunxi put away the bow suspiciously, and sat down to prepare for dinner. However, the next second, the alarm in her heart sounded again. She stood up again. After repeating this several times, Lu Yunxi finally found the problem. Whenever she wanted to eat, She felt that her life was in danger. No way? She looked down at the dishes on the table and tentatively cast a detection spell. Unlucky, if you eat this dish of stir-fried vegetables, you will become very unlucky. You will break your bones when you walk and choke when you drink water. The time limit is 6 hours. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Magical Effect. Yunxi looked at the dish of unlucky green vegetables on the table, shifted her sight, and looked at the meat dishes and soup next to it. Hiccups. Within 3 hours after eating this dish, there is a chance of hiccups, which will last for 10 minutes. Dizziness. This dish has a chance of making people dizzy, and the world is spinning, guaranteeing that you will experience the most thoughtful dizziness service. Yunxi. She's gone. The dishes she made herself either add blood or mana, or at least some agility for a short period of time, and never had such a devastating effect. The latter two are probabilistic, and I'm afraid they won't work, but the unlucky one in front is probably already effective. Thinking that Yuyan just came out to get some water, but she got almost all wounds, she secretly sympathized. However, just as she was shaking her head secretly, she suddenly heard a bang. Yunxi was shocked and immediately rushed into Yuyan's room. "Who?" she shouted, her eyes full of coldness. However, when she opened the door, she saw Yuyan was still unconscious. There was a big hole in the roof above her head, and the tiles on the roof fell down and landed on Yuyan. Even though she was unconscious, she still groaned. Yunxi didn't know what was going on with the player, and guessed that she probably felt it, but just couldn't move. "I just don't know how painful it would be." She looked at the person on the bed with pity, carefully picked up the broken tiles scattered on the bed, and then went to repair the roof. However, just when she climbed onto the roof, a lot of tiles fell down. Yunxi. She jumped down quickly, moved Yuyan and the bed to the hall, and then went up to repair the roof. However, this was just the beginning. Yuyan's bad luck didn't seem to have passed. Just after repairing the roof of Yuyan's room, the tiles in the hall fell down again. Yunxi had to move Yuyan outside the house again. This time, there would be no more tiles falling, right? However, just as she was repairing the roof of the hall, the sky suddenly became dark. She was stunned, and heavy rain poured down instantly. Yuyan, who was lying in the yard, instantly became a drowned chicken. Yunxi? The effect of Yuyan's cooking was really terrible. She really admired it. She repaired the roof in a few seconds, jumped down quickly, and prepared to move Yuyan back to the house. Who knew that at this moment, a snake came out from nowhere and approached Yuyan before her. "Stop!" Yunxi took a breath and quickly pulled the arrow. However, it was still a step too late. The snake was nailed to the ground, hissing, and its body kept swinging, trying to get rid of the arrow. The wound on Yuyan's hand was still unusually obvious, and black blood slowly flowed out of her hand. Yunxi jumped to Yuyan's side in a few seconds, looking at the wound on her hand, and felt depressed. She stuffed a detoxification pill into her apprentice and moved the person back to the house. In this way, Yunxi tossed back and forth, moving Yuyan here and there, busy chasing away poisonous bees, and bandaging Yuyan's wounds. Even her protective shield was useless. After she released the protective shield, several master-level poisonous animals came one after another and broke the protective shield. Yunxi was exhausted. Fortunately, this unlucky effect lasted for several hours and finally ended. Yuyan finally woke up. "Yuyan, you have suffered so many injuries, go and rest." Yunxi's face was numb. "Remember not to eat the dish of yours, you will have bad luck after eating it." After saying that, she left quietly. "Yuyan? What did the master say? Why so suddenly? Wait. Why is she tied up? Can't move her whole body. The medicinal materials here are of low grade, and many are not even green." It took 3 months for Yuyan to fully recover. This day, Yunxi sat in the courtyard of the old man, drinking the tea made by the old man. Her eyes paused and she quickly used the detection spell. "Grandpa, you successfully broke through." She was shocked. This tea is already of golden quality. Originally, she thought that the old man had been here for decades and should not be able to break through again. She was thinking about taking the old man out first when she broke through, and then finding a way to come back to find Chu Yan. Who would have thought that at this time, he actually broke through? Chu Yan thought that she had just entered the elementary level of cooking, and her face was full of envy. The master and the apprentice smiled and congratulated him. Great! You will be a master of tea ceremony when you go out in the future. Master level people, no matter what skills they have, do not need to worry about work problems. Congratulations, Grandpa, your wish has come true. The old man laughed. Last night, I suddenly broke through, and I was surprised myself. After that, he poured tea for the two of them and motioned them to taste it. Yunxi looked at the bonus in the system. Comprehension increased by 10%, which is conducive to skill breakthrough, lasting for 1 hour. She was eager to move. Chu Yan took a sip of tea and her eyes lit up when she saw this hint. I called you here this time because of my breakthrough. Since you can only take one person out, do you want to discuss and let one of you go out with me? Seeing the two of them drinking tea with curved eyebrows, the old man couldn't help laughing. However, when these words came out, the master and apprentice who were originally laughing happily paused at the same time. Yunxi, Chu Yan definitely doesn't want to leave, she just wants to learn cooking from me. It's not good if she abandons her apprentice. Chu Yan, she won't be left here alone, right? Then she will have to live on her own in the future. It would be great if it was like in the Interstellar. In the Interstellar, when you go out to experience, you not only have space hubs, nutrient solution, tents. In short, it's too easy to live alone. Retracting their thoughts, the master and apprentice unconsciously clenched their hands, and they became nervous. The old man smiled meaningfully. I know you need to think slowly. Don't rush. I need to pack up these few days. If you decide to leave, pack your luggage and come find me in 3 days. The two said goodbye to the old man with a smile, but couldn't help but peek at each other on the way home. Until their eyes met. Haha, Chu Yan, Grandpa has successfully broken through to the Grandmaster level. Why don't we try it first? Looking at the comprehension bonus on the system panel, Yunxi was a little anxious. What if they broke through within this hour just by relying on this bonus? Then the problem the old man said would not be a problem. The three of them can go out together. Chu Yan nodded repeatedly, watching the countdown behind the increase in comprehension. The master and apprentice ran all the way back home. One went into the kitchen, and the other closed the door and started making medicine. Both suppressed their anxiety and studied their skills seriously. Chu Yan in the kitchen, after making a lot of dishes with negative effects, finally succeeded in making a dish with a positive effect. Good luck. This dish can bring good luck to people. Limited to 1 hour. She was so moved that she almost cried. She wanted to laugh. She wanted to scream. She wanted to. Chu Yan immediately covered her mouth and resisted the urge to go crazy. She was afraid of disturbing Yunxi's medicine making, and she couldn't vent her intense emotions. After walking around the room for a long time, she finally couldn't control herself and ran wildly outside. Yunxi had just refined a bottle of pills. When she heard the door closing, she looked out the window and saw her back like a husky running away. Several huge question marks appeared on her head, and she looked at her apprentice inexplicably, secretly curious. What happened to Chu Yan? Is she training some special skills? Seeing that the 1 hour bonus time was about to pass, she didn't bother to study the sudden changes of her apprentice and threw herself into making medicine again. In the room on the other side, the old man smiled and touched his beard, looked at the young man running wildly outside, shook his head and sighed. It's really a young man. A few days later, Yunxi and Chu Yan escorted the old man away from this place and packed a lot of dry food for him. By the way, I have a lot of special tea bags in my room. You can drink them after you make them. The two of them thanked him repeatedly at this time. They never thought that the effect of the tea bags would be. Chapter 124 Tea Bags. Yunxi and Chu Yan looked at the tea bags that the old man left for them and fell into deep thought. There were so many tea bags that they filled several large boxes. Even if they made tea every day, it would be enough for them to drink for a year or so. The two thought of the bonus of the tea that the old man had given them before, and they all laughed. Yunxi secretly hoped that if a bag of tea could add 10% of comprehension, and if the bonus could be superimposed, then 10 bags of tea could add 100% of comprehension, then she would not need to swipe monsters frantically, and she would be able to reach the Grandmaster level 100%. The two put the tea bags into their backpacks and returned home together before they began to distribute the tea bags. However, when distributing them, Yunxi discovered a problem. Unlike the tea that the old man had made for them before, the effects of these tea bags were actually random. She used the detection technique more than a dozen times in a row to detect different tea bags, but all of them were tea bags, have random effects, please consume with caution. Even she couldn't detect it, so Jiuyan couldn't find the problem even more. Almost all players don't know how to detect. They can only know the effect by looking at the system panel after drinking. Jiuyan happily brewed a pot of tea and handed it to her on the spot. Yunxi casually threw a detection spell on it. This tea has the effect of promoting sleep. After drinking it, no matter how serious your insomnia is, you will sleep soundly for 6 hours. She was silent. Doesn't tea usually keep people awake? Is this the power of random effects? Even tea can help sleep. Just when she looked down at the tea, Jiuyan had already drunk a large cup. It tastes good. Hearing her laughing and sighing, Yunxi came back to her senses. Jiuyan, you are sleepy. She was stunned for a moment, and just when she was about to ask how she felt, she saw that her apprentice seemed unable to open his eyes. After closing them, he fell to the ground with a thud. Just hearing the noise, she felt pain, but Jiuyan was sleeping soundly and even snorted. Yunxi was somewhat helpless and could only carry the person back to the room and cover her with a blanket. After that day, the system panels of the two people were hung with strange effects every day. For example, some tea bags have the effect of repelling mosquitoes, some can make you feel full without eating for 3 days after drinking, and some can make people smell like tea. In short, the effects of tea bags are all kinds of strange and varied. The two of them have also gained some knowledge. This morning, Jiuyan got up, washed up, and made a pot of tea as usual, and started to make breakfast at the same time. She is very skilled at making breakfast every day. That is, she has made all the things that her master taught her many times, whether it is soy milk and fried dough sticks, porridge, rice noodles, buns, dumplings, wontons. She has made them all. It can be said that the food she makes best now is this kind of food. After breakfast was ready, Jiuyan tasted it and thought it was good, so she brought it to the table one by one, and also took the tea over. She drank a cup of tea first, and then waited patiently. Master has only come out of the room at 8:30 in the morning recently. It is already 8:28 now, and there are still 2 minutes. Jiuyan seemed to be drinking tea slowly, but her eyes unconsciously swept across the closed door. Why hasn't Master come out yet? She touched her stomach, resisted the hunger, moved her eyes away from breakfast, and drank a few more cups of tea. However, I don't know if it's because she is too hungry. She felt her body getting hotter and hotter, and there were fine and dense sweat oozing out of her forehead. She wiped the sweat off her face, drank another cup of cool tea, and fanned herself with a cattail leaf fan. However, I don't know if it was because the summer heat was too strong. Jiuyan's method was useless. Jiuyan frowned, pulled her clothes, and opened the collar a little. However, the heat in her body came in waves, like a tide. Just when she was feeling dizzy and didn't know where she was, the door opened with a click. Yunxi rubbed her eyes and walked out sleepily. She walked through the eaves of the corridor where the sun was shining. The layers of black skirt could not hide her graceful figure, but made her skin look even more white and flawless. There was a hint of laziness on her delicate face. As she approached, a faint fragrance came. However, neither she nor the other person present had the heart to appreciate it. Before she walked into the yard, she was suddenly grabbed by Jiuyan's hand. What's wrong with you? Yunxi was shocked and felt the temperature of Jiuyan's hand was scalding hot. Master, Jiuyan's eyes were a little distracted, and she seemed to want to say something, but in the end she just suddenly closed her eyes and fell to the ground. Fortunately, Yunxi reacted quickly, caught her, and used a blood recovery spell on her. Jiuyan's body was still scalding, but she still opened her eyes. Yunxi looked around and his eyes quickly locked on the tea. This tea has the effect of fever and chills. Only a gold quality antidote can remove the effect, or it can be ended by enduring for 6 days. Looking at this paragraph, Yunxi was silent. No wonder Jiuyan suddenly. Wait. Why did she take off her coat? Seeing that if she continued like this, the thin layer of clothes Jiuyan was wearing would be torn off by her, Yunxi quickly reached out and held her down. Wake up. Jiuyan's body was burning red, her eyes were hazy for a while, and suddenly, like a wild horse, she broke free from her hand and rushed out. Yunxi? She hurriedly followed, only to see Chu Yan rushing to the bottom of the waterfall at a high speed, and jump down the waterfall with a plop. Seeing that she gradually regained consciousness in the waterfall, Yunxi secretly breathed a sigh of relief and let her stay in the waterfall. However, just after Yunxi finished breakfast, she saw Chu Yan with a pale face, and rushed in again in a hurry, stirring up a gust of wind. Yunxi? She knocked on the door, walked into Chu Yan's room, and saw the obvious difference on the bed at a glance. There were originally only 2 thin quilts on the bed, but now it was covered with thick winter quilts. There were 2 thick quilts underneath, but Chu Yan was covered with almost 10 thick quilts. Are you crazy? She was so surprised that her eyes almost popped out. No matter how cold it is, if you cover yourself with 10 quilts, you will be extremely hot. No. The most important thing is that these ancient quilts are very heavy. It feels difficult to move when you cover yourself with 2, let alone 10. Yunxi twitched her eyes and wanted to go up and lift the quilt. However, she found that her apprentice who was curled up under the quilt was shivering. She frowned and covered the quilt again. Originally, she thought that aversion to cold and fever were symptoms that appeared at the same time, but who knew that they appeared alternately, that is, during these 6 days, Chu Yan would have aversion to cold and fever at times. Thinking about it, she couldn't help but sympathize. Fortunately, although it was painful when she had aversion to cold, Chu Yan was able to stay awake. She looked at the prompt on the system panel, wanting to cry but not tears. Master, you must not drink that pot of tea, it has a problem, drinking it will be like catching a cold. After saying this, she seemed to have exhausted all her strength. Yunxi nodded, I know, don't waste your energy talking. After looking at it for a while, she suddenly had an idea. Chu Yan, you should have a good rest. If you catch a cold, you need to sleep more. I won't disturb you. If you want to eat, call me, go offline quickly. Wait outside for a few days and come back, and the effect will disappear. Chu Yan hugged herself tightly, curled up into a ball, but the cold continued to attack. Okay, she replied with chattering teeth. Seeing that she was so uncomfortable, Yunxi hurriedly left the room. It was not until she heard the sound of the lock being locked and realized that the room had become quiet that she gradually felt relieved. It seems that Chu Yan should be offline. Yunxi retracted her gaze, and when her eyes touched the pot of tea, she supported her forehead with a headache. Usually when I drink tea, it is always positive effect, but this is the first time I have encountered negative effects. Still such an uncomfortable negative effect. Looks like I have to be careful next time. She thought about it, put the tea into the space, and threw all the tea bags into the space. She can see the effect of the brewed tea bags, so she doesn't need to experiment in person. Let her make tea in the future. Chapter 125 Brothers and Sisters. Yunxi stayed alone in this space, so she was too lazy to disguise herself. She took her dry food and rushed to the underground dungeon, where she started to play the dungeon frantically. After playing the dungeon for several days, seeing that Chu Yan's discomfort was about to end, she packed up her things and hurried home. It was already night when she left the dungeon. The stars were twinkling, the crescent moon was hanging high, and the cicadas were chirping. When Yunxi was about to reach the waterfall, she saw a black shadow on the ground from a distance. Ghost, she was startled and almost lost her soul on the spot. Who wouldn't be scared to see a black shadow in the middle of the night? She patted her chest to calm herself down a little, then quickly pulled a bow and arrow, aimed at the black shadow, and walked over tentatively. However, when she really got close, she found that it was not a monster at all, but a person. A dark person. At Yunxi's level, night vision is no problem. If it was a normal person, she would have seen it long ago. But this person was black all over, skin, hair, clothes, shoes, everything was black. It was the first time she saw such a person. It was a bit strange. Yunxi checked the person and found that he had no wounds, so she took him home. Of course, she put this person on the rotten wooden bed she made at the beginning. However, as soon as she put the person on the bed, she found the problem. This person was not born so black at all, but was stained. Looking at the black mass on the bedding, she gritted her teeth secretly. She fetched several buckets of water in a row, wiped the person clean, and after changing the clean bedding, she threw the dirty bedding on the ground. Of course, she didn't want to wash so many things. Let the person wash this thing after waking up. Thinking of this, Yunxi had time to see what this person looked like. However, this turned out to be her other apprentice, Shenzhen night fell. In the small yard, the firewood crackled under the burning flames, accompanied by very little smoke, and bursts of meat fragrance drifted away. Shenzhen put the skewered meat and vegetables on the rack and worked hard. Some of the vegetables that were ready to be grilled were already on the table. Yunxi was tired after playing a dungeon all day, so she sat down, picked up a skewer of grilled vegetables, and asked casually, "Do you want me to help?" Shenzhen shook his head and refused with a smile. "Master, you don't have to come. It's too smoky here. You can just sit next to me. Many vegetables are ready to eat, and the meat is almost ready." Yunxi nodded. She had been eating the dishes cooked by Chuyan for some time, and she was about to cry. Chuyan hasn't come back these few days, and I don't know if she has something to do. But Shenzhen is here, so it's not bad. After all, Shenzhen and I have been learning for a long time, and our cooking skills are already quite good, but Chuyan has just started, and there is still a lot of work to do. By the way, how did you end up here? Thinking of Shenzhen's dark appearance that day, she was a little surprised, and his body was still black. Shenzhen twitched his eyes, and really didn't want to mention the previous things. "I heard there was a treasure near that lake, so I went to look for it. The treasure was said to be buried underground, and I had to jump down a hole," he said casually. "Who knew that when I jumped down, I fell into dark water, and my whole body was dyed black? Is there a treasure there? If I could get something good, it wouldn't matter if I turned black." "There was nothing. There was only black water in that dark pool. I felt dizzy after staying there for a long time, so I had to climb up quickly," he said, gritting his teeth. "Who knew that after climbing up, I felt dizzy and couldn't walk steadily? It happened that the gourd lake was right next to me, and I accidentally fell down. After that, he floated in the lake for a while, and then fell to the master. It's all tears to talk about it. He spent a lot of money to buy the news that there was a treasure in the black water. How dare he cheat him? Damn it. If he finds the NPC who sold the news, he will definitely give him a lesson." Yunxi looked at her apprentice with a dark face and laughed secretly. She changed the subject. "By the way, I have accepted another apprentice. You will have a junior sister in the future. Are you happy?" Shenzhen paused while holding the barbecue, a little surprised. "Junior sister? Then she must be very talented. Well, you brothers and sisters should get along well in the future. If you have time, you should take care of the junior sister more. She has just started learning and doesn't know these things very well." She coughed twice, but finally did not deny the issue of talent. "At least Chuyan's knife skills are really talented." "Okay," Shenzhen nodded. Since she is the new apprentice accepted by the master, he is of course happy to get along well with her. "By the way, what is her junior sister's name?" Although he can't leave here for the time being, it's better to ask in advance, so that once he finds out, he will immediately know that it is his junior sister. "Her name is Chuyan. She has been feeling a little uncomfortable these days, so she is resting. When she wakes up, you can get to know her," Yunxi said with a smile. "Chuyan," Shenzhen was stunned. This name seems familiar. Where have I heard it before? He crossed his arms and pondered. That's right. The person that his elder brother tricked him into going on a blind date with was a woman named Chuyan, wasn't she? Could it be that his junior sister is? No. Impossible. Most people who play games don't seem to use their real names. Most of them use fake names. This Chuyan is probably not the person he met in the real world. After all, that person looks so arrogant. How could he be willing to worship an NPC as his master? He shook his head and shook off the horrible conjecture in his mind. At this moment, a slight sound suddenly came from the room. Yunxi's eyes moved, guessing that Chuyan was back, so he got up and walked in. Chuyan. You finally woke up. She smiled and walked over and hugged her little apprentice. You have been sleeping for so many days. I was a little worried. I'm glad you're okay. Chuyan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. These days, she was busy taking the chef's certificate in the real world, and she just passed the junior chef's certificate. Although she was not a senior chef, her adoptive parent's situation would be much better after she passed the exam. She was more determined to learn cooking from her master. Master, I'm sorry for making you worry. What's there to be embarrassed about? By the way, my eldest apprentice, your senior brother, also fell down during the days you were sleeping. He is now barbecuing outside. You can meet him later. Yunxi took her hand and secretly felt her pulse. Seeing that she was completely recovered, he smiled. Senior brother. Okay, Jiu Yan was a little nervous. The master's first apprentice must be very powerful. Thinking of meeting such a powerful senior, she couldn't help but take a few deep breaths to make herself look calmer, and then followed the master and walked forward slowly. The two came to the yard with smiles on their faces. And Shen San outside was also secretly prepared at this time. Just now, I heard from the master that his little sister who was offline was probably online. As a senior brother, he should naturally give a gift. He prepared 2 gifts for the meeting, one for equipment and one for food he made himself. If the junior sister was a pure life player, he would send food, and if the junior sister also fought, he would send equipment. Perfect. The 2 brothers and sisters were nervous and excited at this time. Until, Chen San, this is your junior sister, Jiu Yan, Lu Yunxi introduced the 2, Jiu Yan, this is your senior brother, Shen San, why is it you, it's you? The 2 brothers and sisters had a tacit understanding in an instant and exclaimed in unison. Both of them revealed a subtle disdain in their eyes. Jiu Yan, it's actually the 3rd child of the Fu family. Yes. It seems that before she became a disciple, the master had said. Hateful. She actually forgot it. Shen San, how could it be her? Doesn't this guy look at people with his eyes on the top of his head? She actually became his junior sister. What? Do you know each other? Lu Yunxi had long forgotten the little things that happened in the inn before, and was quite surprised now. That's great. We don't have to spend time getting to know each other again. The newly minted brother and sister laughed dryly, forced a smile and echoed a few words. Suddenly, a burning smell wafted up. Oh no. Barbecue. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.